What's going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 95. I am your host, Tony Polanco, and today I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
The battle's to the north.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
What up, people?
And joining us once again, Mr. Adam Vale.
Woo, Adam, what's up?
By the way, folks.
And Brett Murdock.
Mr. Murdock shows up. But by the way, it is Adam's birthday. Yay!
Happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, man.
I did it. I didn't think I was going to make it past 30. It's a miracle.
No,
living the dream.
I remember when you turned like 21 and we were watching that show, Dead at 21.
Oh, shit, I remember that show, man. Oh, man.
I was like, damn, this is going to be me. I'm not going to make it. Oh, man.
10
Life
years
in the
later.
city is hard, yeah. Oh,
Yo, Adam,
man.
you're an old motherfucker, man. See, I
am.
thought you were like my age. Nope, you're older, man. That's crazy.
Wait,
Yeah.
how old do you have to be to qualify as an old motherfucker?
What was it? It was the demographic is 18 to 35, so it's just the industry
Over
saying that after 35 you're very old. You know, so I'm 39.
By the way,
So-
Brett, say hi to people, man.
Hi to people, man.
So me, Manny, Chris, and Adam, we're all old motherfuckers because we're all over 30.
Hey, listen, we can't be drafted.
Yeah, that's it. We can't be
35
drafted.
is the cutoff age.
Yeah.
Like, I apparently skipped over straight from, like, being too young to be respected to apparently now I'm old. Like, wasn't there a middle ground supposed to be in there somewhere? Like, wasn't that...
No, you're first you're young and then you're old. There's no middle ground.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, a quick shout out to Black Star, Reggie, and Mega Jack who are in the chat room, and Rico the Beast. Reggie's hilarious. He goes, "All men with no bathwater find ladies. You could do better, Tony." He wants more bitches on Throwdown.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Well-
speaking about that, okay, I was looking at some of our analytics the other day, right, just for fun, on YouTube. I was very shocked by the fact that we have 6% women watching this stupid show.
Hi,
Like,
ladies.
Hello, women out there. I'm like, shit, like 1%, you know. So
And then we instantly get a comment back. How dare you call me a lady? I'm not watching your show ever again.
listen, if these chicks are checking out Throwdown, they're probably cool as fuck. If they, you know, the ones who are like called us out or called us into HR or whatever. We don't have HR around here, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we didn't go to the HR the human resources thing where they make you watch that stupid tape.
Yeah.
Now
so,
the question is, like, do you have any female gamers on your playlist, on your gamer list?
Oh yeah, I got a couple. You know, we had a bunch on the show, obviously. You know, I mean, for a long time we had Rachel on until what happened to her happened. You know, but
And-
Yeah,
yeah, and
Mary's
then
my
there
favorite
was-
lady gamer.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then there's also you know, the who started the show
Yes, Jess.
with
you know,
Jess. She was
our Jess. I still talk to her. You know, she's doing good. It's just the time difference and stuff. You know, it's hard to be on.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely difficult for her.
Yeah, because the thing with Throwdown, we honestly don't give a shit. If you're a gamer, you're in. We don't give a shit what's in between your legs. Don't give a fuck.
Sure.
You know. Okay, so again, another quick welcome to Mr. Carlos, who is now our newest addition to Throwdown. Carlos, hello.
Thank you.
You know,
Dressed as Gohan today.
yes.
Make Gohan great again. That's my slogan.
He's Mexican Gohan. You know.
There's a guy I work with, and his son is named Gohan.
Oh,
shit.
wow.
Yeah.
Think about it like
Shout
this.
out to Kiefer and his son, Gohan.
Dragon Ball Z has been around for so long. I could see that happening. You know. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I remember I asked him, I'm like, what's your son's name? He said Gohan. I was like, from there. It's like, okay.
Now did his wife agree to this? It's just
She
like,
agreed. She
sure, go, let's
they
do
gave
it.
They gave him a regular middle name. I forgot what he. Oh man, what was
Oh,
it?
okay. So,
But
just in case.
Just
Yeah.
in case when he gets older, he doesn't want to use it, but it's Gohan.
That's funny. And I also want to give a quick shout out to our very own Chris Seeley. Chris, you've somehow dodged bullets over your last editorial. I don't think they've come after you yet, right? The Nintendo fanboys?
No, it's been pretty quiet. Like, my Twitter didn't blow up. I didn't get signed up for industrial shipping from other cities that I have no idea. Like, the last thing I wrote on Koalition, I got slammed, right? I think there was like an organized effort against me.
Hey,
God
hey,
damn.
hey, Tony.
Oh, man,
What's up?
it would.
Is it okay to have 4 Mexicans on one show?
Oh.
Oh, that's cold-blooded.
Who's Mexican here?
I
The
don't
thing,
know.
you gotta
I
understand, man. You gotta understand. To white people, all Hispanics are Mexican.
Oh,
know.
oh,
So
is
that's
that
the
how
joke.
it goes?
I'm just joshing you guys. You know I love all you.
Brett needed to end it off with "That's the joke."
Yeah.
That's the joke. Hey, hey.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, Brett, we're taking over, man. There's gonna be nothing but Hispanics here on Thread. You're gonna be made into a Hispanic person soon enough, you know. There's some
I'm
You know,
okay
he
with-
can,
I'm okay with
Brett.
Yeah.
Brett can pass for Hispanic person because, in general, there's no formula to Hispanic people.
That's the
Yeah.
truth.
That is true.
I might jump ship,
I've
man.
seen. Come on, I've seen freaking Asian Hispanic people, like full on, like they come from the islands and
Yep.
they're fucking Asian. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Louis C.K. is Mexican.
Which is crazy, man. He's hiding that shit. I'm very ashamed of him. And
I am
know,
related
or-
to Che Guevara, so that helps.
See, there you go.
Also, what's his face from the Academy Award winner, from what's that movie? The new
Yeah.
Star Wars film.
Fuck that
Oscar
guy,
Isaac?
man.
Oscar Isaac.
man,
He's
nah,
freaking
son. What's his real name? Like Hernandez or some shit?
Yeah,
Nah,
he has a
man.
double last name. It's like Vasquez Hernandez or something like that. He's got a really long name, and
Yeah,
he just
come
took
on, son.
he just took his first 2 names. He took Oscar and then his middle name Isaac.
Man, that offends me, man. You motherfucker hiding your shit, you know. Let it out, man. Like Emilio Estevez, he was like, "Fuck that shit, fuck shit."
Here's the thing, and it's a sad thing to say, but when you have an obvious Hispanic sounding name, it is very difficult to get work because of that. When you have a full on, a lot of times, maybe not nowadays, but you kind of get stereotyped as to
Yeah,
playing.
Well, it's like that with any name. If it's very ethnic,
If it's very ethnic, like
if it's very ethnic, then you're gonna have that. You know.
Well, that's the thing. I read the story, right? Basically, this guy, he was putting his name, he was trying to get jobs and stuff, putting his name out there, Jose, whatever his last name was, right?
Mhm.
His last name was it was just neutral sounding, right? But Jose, whatever, right? Not getting any job offers. Then he was like, fuck it, let me put Joe in there.
put Joe.
So offers started coming in. How
Well, the
fucking
most
crazy
famous is
that?
Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg, the same thing. She couldn't get any jobs. I forgot what her last name was, so she changed it to Goldberg, and she was getting
Shit.
called in for all these interviews.
Mhm.
So she said it does mean a lot, you know.
Yeah,
to
and
change the name.
there's another. Charlie Sheen,
Yeah.
Martin
Oh,
Sheen,
Sheen.
Martin.
Yeah.
His
Emilio
name,
Estevez.
That's what I'm saying. Emilio Estevez, I give him respect. He's like, fuck that. My last name is Estevez. I'm not Sheen.
Well,
you know?
yeah, I think he did that for 2 reasons. He wanted it. He didn't want to be compared to his brother, and his dad. He wanted to be seen on his own level.
Yeah.
So, also, the fact that he also doesn't look really anything like those two. Well, he kind of looks like his father,
Oh, he does.
but
look
he's
like
bl-
a dad.
he's blonde. But he's
The
I
thing
think
blonde.
they
about
have different
Emilio-
mothers, right? They have different mothers.
No, I think this is the
No,
one.
I
But
think so.
here's what I always find funny about those two, right? Okay, they don't look anything like each other, but they both look like Martin Sheen.
They both look like Martin Sheen, yeah.
That's true.
So I'm thinking that's what happened. Like he got into acting a little bit later than his brother did. So rather than kind of sit on the Sheen name, he's like, no, I'm just going to use Estevez.
Yeah, I saw Apocalypse
An
Now.
obvious Hispanic name right there, Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
I saw Apocalypse Now not too long ago, and I'm like, man, that guy looks exactly like Charlie Sheen, but it was
was
Martin
his-
Sheen.
Yeah, it was Martin Sheen. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? But yeah, it's like if you were to put Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen in the same room together, you'd be like, okay, these guys, you wouldn't even think it. You put Martin Sheen, like, oh shit, they're related because they look the same. It's funny, man. All right,
crazy.
yeah, and shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are already going off, which is
What's up,
good.
guys? How you doing?
All right, so this is gonna be another one of those weirdo episodes of Throwdown because this is summer. Nothing's fucking happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, it's like the end of the summer, man.
No, it's
Yeah,
not. Summer
which
ain't
fu-
ended yet.
It's
Which, by the way,
Summer
this
ain't
is
ended yet, and
this
it
is-
ain't ended until September 21st, baby.
this is the summer of flops.
Oh yeah.
a lot of flops. I'm
Flop
hearing.
summer, man.
Manny, you know what? That's a good
About
segue
Suicide
to our,
Squad.
not really our main feature because we don't have a main one, but we're going to talk about Suicide Squad and the Xbox One S. But let's talk about Suicide Squad first. Because,
Oh,
what's wrong, Brett?
God. I'm just the shitstorm that is coming because of this. Like, I haven't even seen the movie yet. It's already just.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
so
It's getting ripped. The reviews are pretty bad.
yeah, so I'm gonna start this off because I have seen the movie. I saw it on Tuesday. Press screening. I'm not gonna spoil anything, obviously, but okay, I'm gonna say the obvious, which everybody already knows. It is better than Batman versus Superman.
It is better than Batman than Superman?
Yes, it's better because it's not Batman versus Superman. Here's the thing about the Suicide Squad. The first half of the movie was actually very enjoyable. I liked when they were trying to bring the team together. I'm like, okay, this is fun. This is interesting. I like the characters, all that. And then the last half, it's like, oh my God. It suffered from, too many cooks in the kitchen syndrome.
Three different directors, right?
Yeah,
there was like three
man.
different directors that jumped on this.
Why do you have 3 directors? How do you have 3 directors?
Yeah.
Because Warner Brothers this is what you want, this is what audiences want, so we're going to change your movie. Because apparently they tested the original cut of the movie to an audience, and the audience didn't like some things. Like, okay, change this, and that, So it's
okay.
like...
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rewind, because I'm not being... this isn't hyperbole. I'm really trying to understand. Was it that 2 directors got fired?
No. Okay, what he means by directors is basically the producers became directors, started telling the actual director what to put in his movies. So like
pretty much
why
changing the direction of the
so
movie.
Why do you have a director if you're going to tell him what to do?
They were like, this is too light. Let's go a little dark. Oh, maybe it's too dark. Let's add some more comedy to it, and it just screwed up the format of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, again, okay, go ahead, Brett.
I gotta ask this because for all the ADD people out me, we're not gonna be able to hear anything else you say until you answer this question. Jared Leto as Joker, how bad was it?
He wasn't bad to me, but he was a very different Joker than you expect. Again,
He had a small part.
No, it's not a small part. But I can't get into it without spoiling it. I won't. Spoiler alert, we'll do that. I can't answer that question fully, Brett, because I can't spoil anything. He wasn't horrible, but I had some issues with him. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But anyway, the reason I want to talk about Suicide Squad is because, okay, we put up our review on Tuesday night, right after we seen the movie, giving just our opinions, and people were going nuts. They were mad at us. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you guys. Apparently, Sony, I already ruined the joke. Anyway, So apparently Marvel is paying off reviewers so they can get positive coverage, and there is a media bias against DC. Tell me if that doesn't sound familiar. That's the same shit Xbox saying.
No.
It's the same fucking thing. So in the comment section of our video, we were getting destroyed. People were like, oh, you guys are, obviously shows, who cares about your opinion? It's like, okay, first of all, this is our fucking review. It's already an opinion, and it doesn't invalidate what you think of the movie. And then third of all, you haven't seen the movie anyway, so why are you beefing?
The game has gotten horrible reviews, but people still play this shit. People still want it. It's up to what you're interested in. If you like DC movies and DC games, you're gonna see it regardless. What do you care?
Yeah, and it's like, how much insecurity do you have that of somebody else's opinion that disagrees with you, it impacts you? It's like, dude, I didn't tell you that you're wrong. How could I tell you that you're wrong? You haven't seen the movie yet. I'm just telling you what I thought. Okay, if you guys remember back in early January, I reviewed Far Cry Primal like a couple of days before it actually came out to the press, right? And I gave it a great review, right? And at that point, most publications were giving it so-so reviews. They were accusing me of being paid off. Like, oh, it's obvious that you're getting paid off because how could you be giving it a glowing review when everybody else is shitting on it? I'm like, that sounds fucking stupid. Have you played the game to tell me if I'm wrong? And then the funny part is when the game comes out, it blows up. Everybody loved it.
Well,
So
you
it's
see
like
all the stuff.
Yeah.
You see everything going on with No Man's Sky. The guy that got the early copy that he paid like $1,300 for. So then he gives his review and but he's dealing with the same shit because everyone's like, oh, what the fuck? What do you mean? This can't be. You don't know what you're talking about. You got like an unfinished copy. Whatever.
Yeah, so I don't get it. Like, again, this goes back to remember when Killzone, right? Killzone 2 came out. People were mad when publications didn't give it a perfect score. It's like, you haven't played the game yet. How do you know it deserves that big score?
Yeah, but that's
Right?
pretty much every PlayStation exclusive that comes out.
It's insane. But now it happens with Xbox exclusives. Oh, Quantum Break didn't get a 10 out of 10. There's media bias. Get the fuck out of here. But now we're seeing this for movies now. Oh, no, there's bias against DC now. No, DC is fucking up. There's no bias. It's just telling the truth. You know?
They're trying too hard, and they're trying to create that universe. That's what's going on with Marvel, and they're throwing so much so fast, and it's just bunching all those, like, for example, even with that movie that we just saw, the Suicide Squad, you're bunching all these characters together, and it's like really quick, here we go, within a short period of time, as opposed to Marvel has had, individual shows and movies for a while, and then put it together. But it's like they're just rushing it. With same thing with the Batman vs Superman, have Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and now they have their independent movies. They should have had their own movies first.
Yes.
See how those go, and if they sell well, then it's like smack them together. There you go. Now everybody's happy.
Yep. Brett, get in here, man. What are you gonna say?
I totally lost my train of thought.
Tony, I have a question.
What's up?
What do you think about a standalone Harley Quinn movie after watching Suicide Squad?
I don't know. The thing is, like, even if you tell me, hey, what about a standalone Harley Quinn comic, I wouldn't even read that. So
it's
I don't
out.
know. I know. Again, it's just me personally. I don't care about Harley Quinn that much to really get invested like that.
Okay. Here's the thing I don't understand about the approach DC had. DC has really great origin stories. Like, let's be honest. Like,
yeah,
it's the personalities in Marvel that drive their book sales. Most of Marvel's origin stories are ridiculously stupid kind of shit. Like, it's just like, they got hit by. It's always some fucking gamma ray. Or like, they're just born that way, or I don't know, they're the son of a demon, or it's not bad. It's just vehicles to kind of skip over the first part, and then you kind of get into their characters. Well, DC actually has some pretty interesting and weird origin stories. Like, even Harley Quinn's origin is actually kind of cool, and a lot of people were really excited for some reason for the idea of Gotham. So that tells me, I think people would like to see this world evolve organically, and then there's big payoffs. You can tell one story where someone's a good character, and then the next story where they're a bad character, because people, kind of flip-flop a lot in DC. They find themselves in antagonist roles to other good guys, thus the whole, fucking Batman versus Superman kind of thing. But you can't just ham it up and drive full into the money shot, man. Like, you have to build up to this kind of thing, and I don't understand with a bunch of characters with rich and varied origin stories like that, how they're just going to gloss over the best part. Because let's be honest, there's not going to be any story as good in the Joker Harley Quinn series as Joker falls, or a nurse or a doctor falls in love with Joker, and he slowly breaks her mind until triumphantly she busts him out in full Harley Quinn getup. Like, everybody's going to get a nerd boner the first time they see her busting Joker out, in some kind of Harley Quinn regalia. Everybody's going to get a little bit of a chubby the first time she calls him hun in a session. Like, that could be really interesting cinematic entertainment, and instead they're just going to be like, fuck it, there you go, everybody knows. No, everybody doesn't fucking know. There's a bunch of fucking kids who don't know.
Brett, everything you just asked for, it's in this movie, but relegated to literally 3 minutes. All that is in there, just 3 or 4 minutes worth, just crunched into one, All that is in there, just
why even bother? Why even bother then?
And did you hear they need to make, what is it, over $700 million in order to make a profit?
Okay, let's go back a little bit. So this movie took $150 million to make, right? Add another $100 million for marketing and stuff. So it needs to make between $750 to $800 million to break even. That is insanity,
Damn.
And that is not gonna happen. Chris, get in here, man. I know you got some shit to say about that.
Well, I'm kind of shocked because you did say that it was better than Batman v Superman, right?
Yes.
I mean, it has the exact same score on Rotten Tomatoes. The score has been dropping ever since the score went up, right? It started at 36%. I just checked it right now. When I tweeted today, it was 28. Now it's 27%, which is exactly what Batman v Superman finished with. Right?
Damn.
So I find that really peculiar because I was saying there's a big disconnect between what critics were saying about the movie. And I watched a few YouTube reviews which were generally positive about the movie, or they said it was mediocre, right? Nobody said it was really bad.
I've heard people say it was jarring and hard to follow.
It wasn't hard to follow. For me, it was just like, why are you doing this? Why? Why do we have to have an extinction level threat villain for the fucking Suicide Squad? You don't need to go crazy, man. You could have it more local, you know? If they would have fixed the villain, I would have been fine with this movie, actually, because I actually loved all the characters. I thought the characters were great. It's just the plot was stupid. When you got to the halfway point, it's like, really? Really?
Yeah, I
Resort for some generic fucking superhero shit? Make something interesting here,
I
you
think
know?
the general consensus was by the time I got to the third act, the movie fell apart.
Yes, totally. The first act was fantastic. I'm like, okay, DC, I think you're finally getting your shit together. Second half, it's like, okay. And then by the third act, it's like, oh, fuck. They dropped this ball hard.
That's fine, because they get all the trailers for the first act.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, but that's still saying more than Batman and Superman, where all three acts were shit. You know, at least this one had one solid good act and a decent second act, then a fucked up third act.
How was Will Smith's part?
He was good. You know, it was Deadshot, but it was Deadshot as Will Smith. You know, he's still acting like that.
Wait, Will Smith was dead? That's who Will Smith was?
Yeah, he was Deadshot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the trailers?
Okay.
You haven't seen the trailers, man?
No, I was just like, oh look, Will Smith's in this movie. I had no idea who he was supposed to be. Which, you know, A+ casting there, guys. Well done.
Well, it's better than doing Independence Day 2. So I guess he made the better decision.
He made the better decision.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Independence 2 didn't do a damn thing.
No.
Yeah,
No.
he may have made the better decision, but like, God, you know, I bitch about it, but goddamn, I'm pretty sure all the internet at this point is going to hear like, "Why'd you make him black?" And that's not what I mean, but just he's not Deadshot. That's all.
So it's anything with the
guy in the fucking
Ghostbusters.
comic books. He's not. He's Will Smith. Argue with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again,
It's just the industry trying to change it up. They did it with Ghostbusters. You know, I heard they're doing it with Splash. Remember with the
Yeah,
mermaid?
it's a man now.
It's gonna be a man now. So
But why? Okay, why is it Hollywood's reaction be like, "Hey, you know
I don't
this
know.
thing? We're gonna comb through with a fine-tooth comb and find the things that everybody likes the best, and then change everything about them."
But
Like,
I don't think anyone remembers Splash.
I remember Splash.
I remember. I only remember when you said it. I'm like, oh my god. Tom Hanks. He's the top actor. Yeah, that was great.
Tom Hanks.
He's gonna
what
be
was
in
her
that.
name? It was
Yeah,
the
they're gonna
girl.
they're gonna get Chadwick, Tatum or whatever. Chadwick Tatum. He's gonna be
Yeah.
You know, it's
Is he
ridiculous.
gonna
Merman Dad.
When he swims in the water, they're gonna play the song "Cherish" by Madonna.
Yes.
Oh man.
But
Why
yeah,
don't
it's
they
been
just call it
happening.
Magic Mike Under the Sea.
You know, but we really shouldn't be surprised. This has been happening in comics for the past year or so. You know,
Oh, yeah,
they did it with
Marvel-
Thor, with the
Marvel-
female. They did it with the Black Captain America. You know, they've been doing this. This is just like the pattern now. So then, just I mean, I guess, damn, I can't say it. It'll be a spoiler, but you guys know, Uncharted, last segment, same thing.
Okay.
You
Leave
know,
that alone.
you see where that's going.
Yeah. All
You
right.
know,
Let's talk about the Xbox One S. That was released this week, right? And my feed was funny, man, on Twitter, man. These
I
guys
got
were.
two of them.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, I
Yeah,
don't.
you know, my feed was funny, man. Twitter, basically, it was dudes saying how this is it. This is finally the thing that's going to destroy the PlayStation 4. It's like, really, guys? You guys are Xbox guys are always desperate for this shit. What is it? DirectX 12, the fucking secret sauce, you know, the secret GPU. You know, now it's like the Xbox One. The Xbox One S is like, no, the Xbox One S, unless you have a 4K TV, it is useless. It is completely useless. You know, but they're proclaiming it as the new savior. Chris, get in here. I see you.
Well, I don't understand this. It's like, okay, I have an Xbox One. I don't need to buy another one right now.
Yeah,
I certainly
I'm
don't
good with
have
my
a
Xbox
4K
One.
TV.
Yeah.
Like, I will admit, like, I give it up to Microsoft. Nice design, getting rid of the brick. I hate the brick, so that was great. Like, you designed it well and everything, but guys, no, like, you sound like supervillains. It's like every week, how can we stop Sony, you know? Come on, it sounds ridiculous after a while. Like, yes, everything Tony just listed, it's like just another thing. Just enjoy it. If you have a 4K TV and you don't have Xbox, then yes, get it and enjoy it. But don't say that shit.
Chris,
But even Microsoft knows this is not the end all because that's why they announced Scorpio. So this is
Scorpios in the world.
exactly. So it's
Okay.
like they know.
Go ahead, Brett.
That works so well into what I'm going to say. I think if you can replace PlayStation with G.I. Joe and Xbox with Cobra and the saying works, you sound like an idiot. That should be the test right there.
Yeah, I like that, Brett. I like that. It's like if
we
whatever
will
you say.
defeat G.I. Joe when Project Scorpio comes out. Cobra!
Yeah, if your fanboy rhetoric sounds like something Cobra Commander would say, you may need to rethink your position.
I will destroy PlayStation 4. We will destroy PlayStation with the power of Scorpio. With the power of Scorpio.
I think what it is
you
that
insolent fools, you made a mistake.
Yes.
Wait, hold up. And then the Xbox. Yeah, okay, so the S is probably the. Oh wait, no, wait. There's got to be something more than Scorpio. I guess that's Serpentor, right?
Yeah, so
Serpentor.
at what point
Serpentor.
at what point do the Xbox fanboys start going, "What's up, man?" When is that coming?
What's up, man? What's up?
Maybe that's the old Xbox talking. It's like,
how dare this Scorpio come in and take over my place? I am the true leader of the next generation.
Wait, does that mean Phil Spencer's Globulus?
I am Globulus. I am Phil Spencer.
Well, we got off the rails.
Yeah, we're going deeper down that hole.
But Brett is 100% right. You guys sound like supervillains now. How would we destroy PlayStation now with the power of the Weather Dominator?
With the power of Scorpio, I will destroy the PlayStation.
You know what I think it comes down to is that the 360 was a great console. It was a great console, and they just in disbelief that Microsoft dropped the ball with the Xbox One, and to see it go through all the issues that it's having now, and to see that it's flopping, it's in disbelief, and that's the thing.
Yo, Adam, they're already slashing the price to this shit. It came out this week, and they're already slashing the price.
Oh, really?
The price of the S?
I bought this shit like 2 days ago.
Oh.
See, but that's their own fault.
I saw a bundle that had like a lower price with like 2 games. I'm like, really?
The eBay bundle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, damn, you really want to clear those? You really want to clear that shelf space, son?
But you can't. They did it to themselves. You can't announce 2 consoles at one show and say, "Oh, this one's gonna be sort of better than this one, but the next one is gonna be badass." It's like, well, then I'll just wait for that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know how much Microsoft put Xbox One S's in stock, but when I went to Best Buy to go get it, there was only one left, and the other Best Buy I went to didn't have any. So I think it's selling good. I like it actually. I have a 4K TV.
You bought it? Oh shit! Okay, Carlos, give us your review of it, I guess.
It's nice. It's like small. It's white. It's a matte finish.
I heard it's light.
It's really light. I mean, well, we're comparing it to the old Xbox One, the Betamax box, man.
The 1985 VCR one. Yep.
Yep.
Hold on, before you go on, because I need to ask you this question, because my boss Matthew Humphreys wanted to know this too. Is it loud? Because apparently, like the fan is really loud on this thing. Okay, that's good to know.
Well, the Xbox One original wasn't loud either.
Yeah,
that's one of the good things about it.
It's not like the fucking PlayStation. I turn the PlayStation on. It's about to go into orbit. It's like,
yeah.
Dude, I have to check mine every once in a while to make sure it's not hovering away.
My disc tray stopped working. I can't play discs anymore. I mean, I have a 2 terabyte drive in there. Everything's digital, but the other day a buddy of mine lent me a game, and I was like, yeah, let me put it in. It was like, it spit it out.
And this is how we win our fight against Sony. This is how we win against Sony. We will destroy Sony Digital. Bit by bit, we will undermine them.
But anyway, Carlos, continue, man. Xbox One S.
Activate Connect.
Yeah, people were worried because they integrated the power supply unit inside the actual box.
Oh yeah, the power brick.
Yeah, so no more power brick finally since like what, Xbox? The original Xbox didn't have power brick?
But didn't the 360 Slim, didn't that one have
No, it still had it, yes.
Had a brick?
I had enough 360s to know they all have
I've had all the old 360s. I never picked up the Slim.
Oh,
I never picked up the Slim either. But I needed a Ultra 4K Blu-ray player, and that did the job. I bought Deadpool. Man, that shit was fucking amazing. On my TV, son?
On my. Okay, so that's what I'm saying though. If you have a 4K TV, Xbox One S is a great fucking deal for sure. But if you don't have a 4K TV, because these guys are literally telling, even if you're on a 4K TV, get an Xbox One S. It's like, no, you don't need this shit.
Don't. If you already have one and it still works, don't get another one.
Doesn't that contradict? Didn't Phil Spencer say the same thing?
He did. He said the same thing. He was like, you don't really need, I mean, if you have a 4K, yes. If you don't, he danced around it, but he pretty much said the same thing. If you have an Xbox One, keep it, because the last thing they want to tell people that have, the early adapters like myself and others, yeah, that's obsolete. You need to get this S if you want the experience, the full experience.
Yeah, man, for sure. But yeah, if you don't have it, then you don't need it. But again, I just find it funny. These fanboys are just trying to convince as many people as they possibly can to buy this thing. It's like, you guys are coming off really desperate right now with this shit. It's pathetic, but it's also very, very funny.
What they need to think about is not even the consoles. It all comes down to October when Gears comes out. Where is it going to sell more? Is it going to sell more on the PC or on the console? Because what happens if it, like, the PC digital version outsells the console sales?
Oh, shit.
That's the question, because if Microsoft's going to be like, all right, we need to back out of this hardware and just focus on software, because that's where the money is.
Well, I think this is the point in the show that Xbox guys are going to focus on Xbox.
But they got to think about this. Open mind, people. People feel open mind. This is not about Microsoft. Think about business, because that's what this is about, money. And if Gears comes out and we see that the Steam guys just jump on and say, you know what, we'll embrace this game. And there's 27 million people on Steam or something like that, and they jump on it. I'm telling you, Microsoft is gonna be like, you know what? Let's re-strategize this whole thing. Maybe Scorpio will be the last console we make.
Is it gonna come out on Steam, or is it gonna be a proprietary app like Ubisoft and EA?
It's gonna be through their Windows app. It's going to be their Windows app, but later on.
Yes, because Phil Spencer already said we will look into putting games on Steam. I guarantee that shit's gonna happen. Here's the thing.
A few games they have. Age of Empires. That's a Microsoft game. It's on Steam.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the big ones. That's right, but there you go.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to take something you said to kind of segue this to this conversation, right? Okay, Gears of War is coming out in October, right? Now, I think that game, right, will actually help Microsoft maybe potentially win NPDs that month, right? And especially considering PC sales. Now they're actually considered as NPDs now. I don't know if you guys knew
the digital sales.
Yeah, so now so I think Microsoft is potentially going to win that month. And then, I want to bring this back around to Xbox One S. I personally believe Microsoft will win August NPDs too. I know a lot of the PlayStation guys were actually getting on me like, Tony, no, nothing's going to save it. I'm like, dude, it's a new console. They're going to get 1 month at least. They're going to get 1 month at least.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
You don't think that the Xbox One is
there's nothing. If they had a selling title with this console, if something would have come out this month and said, let's say, I don't know, another Halo or something, and it dropped with it, then it's like, all right, I'm going to the store, I'm going to get this new shiny box and this game. But it's just a box. So it's like, what's selling it? You know what I mean? If someone goes into the store, I heard a lot of retailers are getting rid of it. They're even removing the Xbox One off their shelf, the older one, and all they're going to have is the Slim. It's like phasing it out. But what's the selling point? If someone says, all right, I want to get this Slim, the first thing, if you're a parent or if you're someone that's not too much in the know, but your kids into this, they're like, all right, what's the big game for this? There really is none.
Gears HD.
It's like, well, it's not really different, but it is. So it's the same thing. Nothing really. It's nothing really.
It's not about bringing in people that already own an Xbox. It's about bringing in people who don't own an Xbox. Period.
That's it. So what's the selling game for them? What's the game?
Everything that's already come out. Forzas and Halos and all that other stuff. You could still sell them that, because that's the thing about it. When you buy a game console, it's your collection doesn't just start on that day. Everything else that came before counts too. So the Xbox One S, I know there's guys like Carlos that bought it too, but it's really for people who don't own an Xbox. It's a great deal, you know. But I do want to talk about this though, because again, I was talking to people about this because there's 3 SKUs of this thing. There's the 500 megabyte one, the 1 gig, and the 2 gig. I think what would have been a good idea is that they release one single console at 350. Because here's the thing:
now, 2 gigs the only one available.
The 2 terabyte, yeah.
Yeah, 2 terabyte,
the only one out.
1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. Actually, I thought no. As of now, they're going to release the other 2 later.
Yeah.
My thing is like, okay, because I was looking at some of the pricing, right? This is consumer stuff. A 500 megabyte, hard drive is about $41, right? 1 terabyte is roughly 51, and then 2 terabyte is like 91, right? But if you buy a 2 terabyte console for $350, you're actually saving money. You know, so Microsoft, I think it would have been better if there's like, hey, here's a $350 2 terabyte console. That's way more than a PlayStation, and it's cheaper than a PlayStation. So I think that would have been good. But they're trying to confuse people. Actually, they're not.
Well, they're not trying to.
Dave,
let me imagine a world, Tony, where you're like, all right, I want to buy a game system, and you go out, and there are multiple big brands that carry multiple different consoles of varying degrees. You have your platinum package, your gold package, your silver package, or etc. Like, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg, or you could buy the super high-end premium system. That's the way laptops work. It's the way pre-built PCs work. It's the way cell phones work. Samsung doesn't have just one phone. They have one phone for kind of each price point or each niche. So that, and I can see at least somebody in a boardroom somewhere saying that that's the way the console should be. And there is not a way to get from point A to point B without, honestly, shit getting a little weird. Like, it's how it is. And Microsoft has, from the very beginning, been focused on building an ecosystem. And they want to plug their ecosystem, like, you pick whatever PC you want, pick whatever console you want. If they're both Microsoft products, they work together. By the way, we also make phones. Like, they're clearly trying to corner the market in a more business-minded sense than Sony, who is trying to just straight up be like, hey, you like games, gamers, we will do anything for you. Like, Sony is kind of prostituting itself to its gamer base. So, like, just saying, what do you want? Give me your money, and I will do that thing. Microsoft is trying to cleverly maneuver themselves by picking up parts of the market while they're cheap or while other people don't want them. And the next thing you do, you turn around and you're like, oh, wow, my PC's on a Microsoft system, and my gaming's on a Microsoft system, and my phone's on a Microsoft system, and now there's all these wonderful programs that hook together, and for just a little bit of money, I can pay this, and they'll nickel and dime you, and that is it's an equally valid business sense, but you have to understand the direction that each of the companies is coming from.
Yeah, no, I actually completely agree with you, and just to wrap it around what Microsoft said earlier this year, remember, iterative consoles are the new thing now, right? Where does that idea come from? Cell phones, just like you said with this system. So if they're going to do iterative consoles, why not do iterative consoles within iterative consoles? You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got a new console for you, but it's going to be 3 different versions of it. Now, my question is, Brett, since you bring it up, does this mean that the Scorpio is potentially going to have different SKUs itself? Why not, right?
I think that one is going to be the high end. I think that's going to be an expensive box. That is going to be the king one. Yeah, that's going to be like...
It did say premium, but okay, let's go beyond the Scorpio. Do you think Microsoft will do that for all future consoles?
Yes.
Like, okay, here's the budget one, and then here's the premium one.
I think next time they'll do it at launch. What they're doing right now is they're slowly conditioning people to find this thing acceptable. Like, okay, we have this console. Now we're going to come out with a console that's a little bit better, which is a very nice and business-minded way of saying, don't buy our old console. That's done. It's over.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want these to be our spec. Well, they want their default device to be the S, because that has the high enough specs to go kind of toe-to-toe with Sony's system. So they want that to be their own system. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're essentially trying to phase out the first generation of the Xbox One without trying to alienate their user base. So
I agree.
Right now, they want the S to be your base version, and they're going to come out with a few different SKUs of that, and then your premium one they're going to release later. But they don't want to release it all at once.
Yeah, they did it with the 360. Remember, there was one that had the hard drive, and then there was one that just had the memory stick. Remember, it had its own little memory stick, and then they had different hard drive sizes, and then some of them came with certain games. Some of them would come with like a racing game and an action game, and another one would come with like little kids games. So they've done it before, but now it's just more noticeable because of more people are aware of what's happening in the industry. With due to the internet and the growth of like podcasts and other ways that we can share information. So now people are more aware. It's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? What are they trying to pull?
They're aware of specs.
Yeah, they're aware of specs.
So maybe the next series of systems that they come out with will be like, here's your basic level package with a 1 terabyte hard drive and this kind of processor and this kind of video card, and then you go up to the silver package. So you can read all the specs into it if you want to, but they'll also probably streamline it and say like, here's good, better, and best. $300, $400, and $500. Pick one.
And then Nintendo comes and says, no specs, here's our new box. Wii U,
man.
no specs.
I think you'll have to flip the box over to look at the specs, so they'll still be there in case people want to argue on the internet about it, although I can't imagine anybody wanting to do that. But for
people will do it, Brett. People will do it.
That was sarcastic. But for the ease of consumers, for the ease of Aunt Terry's buying me a new Xbox this weekend, what kind should I tell her to get? They will have the A level, the C level, or B level, and the C level package, I imagine. Now, Sony's program is a little bit more convoluted in the sense that they're just like, and we have one for regular and one for 4K TVs. Or the one for 4K TVs works well if you want to work it on a regular TV with one of our VR headsets that comes out in October. Like, yeah, that's not convoluted at all. That makes absolute sense. So it's if you're playing the long game, the stuff that Microsoft's doing could make sense and is actually not a bad business way to try and salvage the business plan that they had before, which was let's take over the market. Now they're like, oh well, fuck, well that's not going to work. We're not going to take over the world with Kinect. All right, well, how do we do this now? Well, maybe varying systems is the way to go. Maybe we'll jump on that. Maybe we'll give people more choices so that we can have both the cheapest system and the highest performing system, and then what the fuck are they going to do as long as we provide software?
Yeah, it's just a different way of doing it. I agree with you. From a business standpoint, it's actually pretty smart. I'm just worried about what the consumers are going to think, but they're not. I don't think they're thinking about it. They're just thinking about the business aspect, not the actual consumer aspect of it. But we'll see.
I'm saying that I think that they're thinking about the consumer aspect. I think the answer is just going to be there's going to be some weirdness going on. We have to train our customers to think about systems as a what price point do you want to get in, what do you want to have. It's like options on a car. But they're not really sure how to do that, so the first thing they're doing is shoring up their walls and making sure that their base system can directly compete with its competitor. And then the next thing they're going to do is say, okay, now we're going to bring in your higher point premium system, and we're going to give you a few different SKUs on this bottom. So now you have 4 options depending on how much money you want to spend, whereas our competitor is only giving you 2. So they're already kind of doing that a little bit, and that's why if you think of it that way, it makes sense why they're like, we have a new system coming out soon, but then we have another new system coming out better. Like, they're just kind of cutting their losses, and they're throwing it out there. They'd be like, this is going to be weird. We're having a few different systems coming out. It's going to make sense when all the waters settle down, but for now, it's going to look like we're flooding the market, and it's going to look a little like we're confusing customers, and I don't think it's going to be enough to drive customers away, but it's going to take a little bit of getting used to, I think.
Yeah, I guess it just remains to be seen, whether fans are going to take to it or not. But let's move on here to the next thing. Now we're going to talk about some controversy right now. This is some insanity. Now I kind of feel stupid about this one because I was reporting on it and didn't even see it. It was, even though it was right in front of my face, I thought it was cool. So earlier this week, the guys who made Deus Ex, Eidos, they put out some concept art of other cities around the world, what they look like in the year 2029, right? And one of them, I forgot what city it was, but they had a sign that said, Og's Lives Matter, right? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. They're tying it to Black Lives Matter and stuff because the whole game is about robot apartheid and all this other stuff. Like, that's kind of neat.
That was a terrible idea.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing this in. Finish, please.
Yeah, but because my thing is like, and Brett, you know this too. Sci-fi has always, taken what's happening in the real world and just twist it around a little bit, give their interpretation. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Then
no,
before
you say anything else, I have not heard about any of this.
Okay.
But if I were a betting man, I would say this is a terrible idea. That this is going to explode in the worst possible fashion. So I wanted to get that in there before Tony says what happens.
Yeah, so anyway, I felt like an idiot for not realizing what would happen next. Oh man, so Square-Enix and Eidos are getting slammed for cultural appropriation. They are diminishing what Black Lives Matter is all about. They are, yep, Brett, you called it. That's exactly what happened. Everybody is losing their fucking minds, and I'm there sitting like, okay, I kept my mouth shut on Twitter all week about this, right? But I had to say something now. It's like, okay, sci-fi has traditionally always taken real-world events, right, and twisted it around to tell the same, tell something about that event, but through a different kind of lens, right? It's like basically like Animal Farm, right? It was about communism, but with animals, so it kind of lessens the blow a little bit. This is doing that too. It's talking about apartheid, racism, all this other stuff. But the people affected here are robots, right? But so I'm like, okay, that's pretty neat. That's not what happened. Apparently, it's fucking cultural appropriation. This is wrong.
It's too fresh. It's too fresh. It's almost like after the World Trade Center, and people want to crack certain jokes and stuff too soon, And right now, I mean, this is a serious topic about Black Lives Matter and what does it mean? And it's like, oh, all people matter and blue matter. Yeah. But the whole point is that the majority of people that we see dying now wrongfully or getting shot are blacks, and that's what the whole movement of Black Lives Matter means. It's just pay focus on this. That's all it is. It's like, look, see the pattern, and it's a serious topic. And when a game jumps in on it, and remember, it is a game, and it links it to a character or species within the game, it's sort of like they said, it's just lightening it. It's making it part of a selling point. And maybe they did this on purpose. Maybe they knew. They were like, you know what? How do we get a buzz? Well, let's just throw this in and see what happens.
Well, I don't think that's accurate. There's no way this would pass like a review or a business decision in there where they're like, how do we get a buzz? This is a definite like story arc and progression, right? Where they had to make a conscious decision to write this in and make all this artwork and everything into the game. It's a whole process, so I don't think it was a simple decision. And secondly, I don't see much of the problem. Like, here's the thing. This is a work of fiction, so cultural appropriation, that's ridiculous. And secondly, civil rights doesn't seem to have ended yet. So anybody talking about anything with black people's struggles to get equality in the world is it's an ongoing battle. Like, Black Lives Matter is only one segment of that. Like, anybody in film, like Star Trek dealt with racism. Other shows have dealt with it. You can't say that, well, that's cultural appropriation because it's happening. No, it's pertinent because it's happening. When you make an anti-war film, it's because there's war, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen movies like The Hurt Locker. We're still at war. The Hurt Locker was about Iraq, right?
Yeah.
You can't say, well, that's military culture appropriation, whatever you want to call it. No, they're telling a story. There's a definite message in here. War is terrible, right? That's a similar thing that's happening here. Like, they are making parallels, but it sends a message. They're not using race in here this time. It's about like having cybernetics versus being natural.
They're telling your message. They're saying your fucking goddamn message.
I think the biggest issue was with it because the parallels between their version of it is way too close.
But that's been done before. Okay.
I mean, in other words, it uses the same phrasings.
Yes.
You could have used a different sort of phrasing and still gotten the same effect.
But this has happened before. Okay, there's an episode. All right, I'm gonna get really nerdy now. There's an episode of Star Trek called "Let This Be Your Last Battlefield." Some of you may remember it, there were two characters in there that were fighting against each other on the Enterprise. And one was black on one side and one was white on the other side. And the only reason they hated each other is because one was black on the right side and the other guy was black on the left side of his body. That was it. That was to show how ridiculous like racism and prejudice is, because it's just arbitrary, right?
Well, it was the same with the Klingons. Some had ridges, remember? And then the other side of oh man, what was the name of Klingon's planet, their homeworld?
Oh, Kronos.
Kronos, yeah, and the other half did not have the riches, and
Well,
that's
that
how they
came along.
explained the change.
Yeah,
And
but
they were
that
like,
came along later. But this was Gene Roddenberry saying like racism is dumb, and here's why, and here's how I'm going to show it.
Yeah,
And
that was a
because
fantastic episode because they
yeah,
really showed you how ridiculous. It's like, really, you guys? What does it matter what side the black is on? Who
yeah,
cares?
and the whole
You
theme
know?
of the episode was like life is too short to hate. Your whole people killed each other because they hated each other for no reason other than the color of their skin. That was the theme of the whole episode. This is happening in the '60s when civil rights was happening, right? So
Yeah.
you can't
So
say
yeah, the
that.
whole
Like, you
you
can't
can't say
blame
it's too
Deus Ex for
soon.
this
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, this
Yeah.
has been going on. It's just that people are too damn sensitive now. But
Yeah,
this
and
has
then
always been a message. This
I
has been
agree.
done in fiction.
And here's the thing I wanted to bring up, right? Why is it that, okay, I guarantee you, if this would have been done in a movie, they would have gotten less of a backlash than in a video game. Because it seems when a video game tries to tell something a little bit more meaningful, people go crazy. But the thing is, if you tell the wrong thing, that's when they go crazy on you. If you were to tell something that they're all about, then it's okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I find fucked up. Is like, why can't a video game, try to tell like a deeper message? Why is it that video games are still relevant? It's funny. The same people who say video games are not, for kids, they're an art form, are still treating it like a kid's thing. Like, oh, you can't do that in a video game. That's wrong. It's like, come on, man. I thought this was an equal art form, just like film and music and everything, right? You're being really hypocritical right now. And Chris, I agree with you. This is actually a good thing to do. It's like, okay, Black Lives Matter, all this shit is going on right now in this country. It's very important, and people should be more made aware of it. How do you do that? Through media. Video games are the biggest thing out there. Put it in a video game. You tell the same story, just twist it around. Instead of black people, robots, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like you said, it's been done for fucking years, for decades, basically. But why is it now that it's such a big deal? But like you said,
Okay.
we're too soft now. Go ahead, Chris.
I agree.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Carlos.
I agree with you and Chris about having parallels with video games and different works of art displaying what's going on in today's society, but I agree with Manny mostly because I don't know. It just feels weird having that. I see it. It says "All Lives Matter," and it just feels kind of like a plagiarist.
Yeah, it's obvious what the parallels that they're going for. In Star Trek, they weren't literally saying, they were saying it was still that separation.
They were using the colors black and white. They weren't red and blue or yellow and purple. They were black and white. That was a clear statement over what was happening in the culture. So using the word "lives matter" is a direct parallel to this. Yes, you have to make it clear what they're paralleling because this is what's happening in the world, right? Apartheid was an awful thing that was happening in South Africa. So using a parallel to that, it's like this is racism. So this is the same thing that's happening here. If you were telling the story with aliens and they did the same thing, it's like, oh, I would understand that, right?
You mean District 9?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
They did it, yeah.
Yeah, they did it. So
Yeah.
it's like everybody calm the fuck down. Like this has always been happening, and this helps you. This gets the story out to more people. When you make parallels like that, like, oh shit, that is horrible how they're treating the robots. Wow, wait a minute, this kind of like is what's happening in real life.
So
Yeah,
who started
it'll
the
make
complaint?
It'll make people think about it. Who knows who started the complaint? All these people work in mass. I don't know. Who
Because I'm wondering if
started
it was just like fans, or was it a particular site that noticed this and
No,
said, "Hey,
it all springs up at the same time because all these sites, they all think of like these kind of, I'm not going to get into it, but these sort of sites, they all think along the same way, By the way, just to segue back a little bit, talking about Suicide Squad, people were complaining about that, saying that it's misogynistic, that it's racist. And what I find funny is you have white guys trying to tell me that I should be offended that the Hispanic guy was a gangbanger. It's like, okay, thank you for being offended for me. I didn't care. It's fucking ridiculous. But going back, and I got to bring this up. Okay, you guys remember a certain Marvel group that used to be very, very big in the early 90s and even the early 2000s, and Marvel is trying to kill off right now, right? There was a certain group, the X-Men, that was all about dealing with these sort of issues, right? Yeah. Everybody was cool. What were the mutants for? They were an allegory for anybody that's downtrodden. They're an allegory for minorities, for gays, for anybody that's just been marginalized, right? That was fine. So why is it that a video game can't do the same thing,
sensitive topic for people.
I feel like we're focusing on the micro when we should be like I want to ask the macro question, I guess, and I just want to make sure that I'm getting this 100% right. So I'm in favor of a cause. Somebody wants to piggyback my story and try and tell something that basically humanizes my point of view to the general public, but they come too close to my catchphrase, so instead of embracing them, I lash out at them instead of doing, I don't know, more productive things like focusing on the root causes and not just the symptom. Like, to anybody that has a problem with this, my first question is, yeah, you voting in your next local election? Who's low down on the ticket? What are their policies on private prisons? Do you know the policies and how they affect you socioeconomically or the rest of the country socioeconomically? Like, it baffles my mind. Like, I cannot believe that all these people bitching about this have a firm understanding of the electoral process and how to actually go out and change things. And they spend their time on Twitter bitching about a video game that's trying to tell a story that supports their narrative. We can argue about all the things that we're arguing about, but like the precursor to all that is this is fucking stupid. Like, what I understand if you want to start a campaign to say, hey, can you not make the villain in the next movie like this fucking 20-something black gangbanger? It's starting to look real bad on us culturally when we're trying to do some shit. Like, that's fine. That's a perfectly fine letter writing campaign to write about. But somebody's trying to piggyback on the thing that you're trying to say, and they're trying to tell your story from a different point of view. And the benefit of that is somebody who, I don't know, might be subtly or inherently racist would listen to this story if it were told about robots. And then at the end of the story, you go, and it was never about robots. It was always about race. And they're like, oh, fuck. I see what you did there. Like, that's classic good narrative storytelling.
I definitely can understand that,
well said, man.
because the only way to make people sympathetic to someone else's plight is by bringing it in terms that they can understand within their own perspective.
No, that's exactly what it is, because just like Brett said, if you have a guy like you, hey, I want to talk about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, that's fucking ridiculous. They just dismiss it offhand. Hey, check out this game, Deus Ex. Oh, I love video games. I'll check it out. That was a great game. Hey, what do you think about the message? Yeah, it's fucked up what they're doing as robots. Hey, that's like Black Lives Matter. Oh shit, yeah. See, that's how you open people's eyes. But now everybody's jumping on this whole cultural appropriation thing, which I think is ridiculous already. Because if we're supposed, I'm just gonna say it right now, if we're supposed to be a melting pot society, right? Isn't cultural appropriation supposed to happen naturally? You know, so that I never bought that.
I think the only thing I feel like what is really set up, I was saying before, it just sounds too close to what was, to the slogan that has been created.
But again, what's wrong with that?
I'm thinking that's the problem that people are having with it.
No, I understand cultural appropriation. That's what they're complaining about.
Let me put it in a different lens, Manny. If you were playing the game and as you walked past a storefront, and you saw a sign that said, OGs need not apply, would you think that that's too close to something that happened in the real world?
I mean, it uses the same phrasing as to when, during the civil rights movement, but I think that it's not in the current zeitgeist.
So you think it's just an issue of that it's too soon, not that it's...
I think it's. I don't think that it's
too close.
It's never too soon. I think it sounds too close to what is happening. But it also takes also by changing what this movement within the game world is, it also takes away the power of what they're trying to say. Using that sort of phrasing obviously brings the parallels between what's happening now and what's happening in the game. What's happening. But at the same time, it also causes people to go like, hey, whoa, this is about race. It's not about robots.
Well, I wonder if, let's say, this game was to come out, if Deus Ex just came out and they never showed this artwork, and people just experienced the game and the story, would this still be an issue? I don't think so.
It would probably be. It might show up as something else later, but then again, maybe it won't.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know.
It could have totally gone under the radar because it's something deep within the game, and most of the people who complain, who say get all outraged about stuff are people who just see the surface. They just see some artwork and they find something to get all bent out of shape.
We're seeing a snapshot out of context.
Would they complain if the game director was black?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I don't think they take the time to find out. I think it's just such a small bit, and it's so out of context. I think they're right. Like, I think if they had it in the game, then you would have the question of like, well, is this tastefully done? Is this respectfully done? Is it causing a is it a ham-fisted approach, or is it a respectful nod towards the problems that people are having? Like, here's what I would like to see in a perfect world. Like, not even a black and white thing, but like gray tones. Like, what if you have a bunch of security officers murdering cybernetics, and you come to find out that there's a lot of illegal cybernetic augmentation going on that results in hidden weapon system, and you come to find out that there's a huge amount of tension between the security force and the augment community because the security force is super focused on illegal weaponry, and you come to find out that it's not necessarily the security force hates anybody with augmentation. It's just that they're ill prepared and ill trained, and they pop off at the because there's this deep-seated idea that all augments now have these illegal augmentations. And maybe you could take the parallel of that and say, like, okay, there's obviously a public relations thing that needs to go on. Maybe that's the kind of thing that we can try in the real world. Maybe we can try to start to change the base narrative. It's kind of like in martial arts training. You train yourself to be able to react without stopping to think, and maybe that's all the kind of thing we need to do. Maybe we need to learn to meet some really nice people of some kind of people that we don't know, so that we can start to think of those people as our knee-jerk reaction, as opposed to some fantasy straw man that we have built up in our head. I'd like to see the game nod to both sides of the coin to show the seriousness of the situation, and then still come to a respectful resolution. The worst thing that I can see happening right now is if it's just a ham-fisted, overblown attempt to capture something that's in the public zeitgeist right now. And if that is the case, then I do have to throw my weight in with the camp of, okay, that is cultural appropriation. That's just trying to water down something that's publicly popular or in the spotlight right now, not to further anybody's agenda but your own. And in the meanwhile, you're doing damage to the narrative that they're trying to build. So it really depended on how they handle it, I think.
Well, this game has been in production for a few years.
Remember, just keep in mind, this all stemmed from literally a not even a screenshot, concept art. We don't know the context behind it or anything. We don't know if it's going to even be in the game. We don't know yet. So
probably won't after this.
It would be very easy for them to already be dealing with all those elements, and them to go back to the art department and be like, hey, okay, so these banners that everybody's saying, do you think we can fit a Black Lives Matter parallel into it? Because that really already plays into our storyline, and it'd be great if we could make that a little bit more obvious for some of our denser audience. It wouldn't be that hard to shift gears a little bit if that was already the way that they were going.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we'll have to see, but to me, I think people are just making a big deal out of nothing. It's like, just let them tell their story, and then we'll worry about it later, It's ridiculous.
They did the same thing with Mass Effect with the sex scene, remember?
It's again, it goes back to what I was saying before. Every time video games do something like that, it's like the worst thing ever, It's fucking dumb. Anyway, let's move on here. We're going to make things a little bit lighter now. Adam, you brought this to our attention here. So what the fuck is going on with Marvel Ultimate Alliance? The game's getting remastered. I know that.
Is this really light?
Well, yeah. It's
light compared to talking about cultural appropriation.
Yes.
They're just trying to trick people.
So what's going on? What's going on?
All right, so
break it down.
So out of nowhere, they announced, here's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, and it's going to come in a bundle. You can buy them separate, and it's going to be $39.99, which is usually
for Xbox One, right?
It's for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Yeah. All right, so then they were like, and it's going to get upscaled, and it's going to get that whole treatment, right? Which usually means that it has all the DLC and all that jazz with it. But then when it comes out, not only is it buggy and it doesn't look that much different from the original releases, but it doesn't have the DLC. So people start freaking out. They're like, was this a mess up? Was something happening? And eventually it went to a higher up that was in Marvel, who then contact with Activision and say, hey, what's going on with this? Because we're getting all this backlash, and the last thing they want right now is their property being attacked for ripping people off, you know? And so they said, oh, well, we're going to work on the fixes and the glitches, stuff like that, and we're also going to release the DLC as free content in the future. You know, but they never mentioned if that was part of the deal when they released it. So that makes me think that, well, they had no plans of ever releasing this as free content. That they were going to just make people repay for DLC for a 10-year-old game. You know, and that's upsetting because if, let's say, that was to go into effect, what's stopping other studios from doing the same thing? So, you know what? Maybe we could bring back that old game. Well, we had all those maps. Yeah, we'll just hold off on that and resell it. You know,
it's fucked up. That sounds worse than what Capcom did when they re-released Resident Evil 4 on PS3. It's like this, you haven't done anything to this fucking game. You took the PC version. You know,
You know,
this is worse because how could you not have the DLC in there? Did they expect people to pay more for DLC for games that are like what 8 years old now? You know?
And that was the thing. A lot of people were upset because they were like, it's our own fault, well, the gamer's fault for assuming, because we've seen so many of these definitive editions get released where it has everything. So they just assumed that everything's going to be in it. Like, look, we got the Tomb Raider that's finally coming coming in, and that has everything and some. You know, that's going to be attached to it. They're not trying to say, oh yeah, it's going to be $60 and same thing, you'll have to get a season pass and stuff. No, all that's already there for that price. You know, that's the smart way of doing things. You know, and to see that Activision is trying to just be slick about it because they didn't really advertise this. I mean, it was like a week. Yeah. It was like a week notice. Oh yeah, by the way, we got this coming out. You know, and I think they knew what they were doing. They were trying to be slick about it. But it backlashed, and people just went nuts online, and now it looks like they're being forced to give this. Now, maybe some of this content, maybe they didn't have rights to them, like the DLC, because I've seen that happen with a few titles where they don't have the certain rights for a character, and they're like, oh, we would have to pay more to get that back for this DLC. But they have a partnership with Marvel, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, that sounds like I'm sorry, man. If the game is mad old like that, you can't not have the DLC in it, you know? Even if there are if there's licensing issues, square that away first, then release the game, you know? And then on top of that, why are you going to make a shitty version of a game, you know? Like, if you barely did anything to it.
And that's the thing, they didn't even mention the DLC, and that's why so many people assumed that it was already part of the game, because it never said, oh, includes DLC, and it never said coming soon DLC. So when you watch the trailer, because they had a trailer video, and it showed all these characters, and it was like, best version, you know, 1080p, and blah, 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 and they're like, you're just thinking, well, $40, it's coming back. They're saying this is like a remastered, just like the other ones. Okay, it must have everything. And then people playing it and noticing, wait a minute, it doesn't. You know, so
yeah, that's some bullshit.
It is bullshit. It's bullshit.
But yeah, so don't buy it, people. you know?
Don't buy it until they figure out what they're doing. If it really comes, because that's the thing. They said the fixes are coming now, but when it comes to the DLC, they said later down the road. That could be a year from now.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, those are great games. I love those two games, but
they were like Diablo. It was like playing Diablo and Marvel, you know.
It was great, you know, but they're fucking it up. You know, even though I did like the X-Men games, a little bit better than the Alliance ones, but you know, what are you gonna do? X-Men Legends, fantastic, man. Especially that second one with Age of Apocalypse stuff. That was awesome. Yeah. You know, all right, let's move on here to Nintendo. We got two Nintendo things here. So this one actually just came out today. Okay, so the same source that said that the NX is going to be, you know, half portable, half console, said that the first 3 games are going to be coming out, and this is within the launch window. It's first 6 months. We're going to get a new Zelda, a new Mario, and interestingly enough, a new Pokemon for the console. And Game Freaks.
Oh snap!
Game Freaks is making it. These are the little things. You know, Pokemon Snap. I like that, Carlos. But here's the thing. This is how they're getting away with it, because for years they never brought Pokemon to consoles. Like, oh no, it's a pocket game, Pocket Monster. It's supposed to be handheld. But if the NX is also a handheld,
it is.
They can get away with it. That's how you do it. You know, that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, wait a minute, they could put a Pokemon game into this shit. Say it's a Pokemon because it's handheld, but you could still stick it to your TV. So you're good, you know. So yeah, there you go. We don't know anything about these games except for the Legend of Zelda. We don't know what the fucking Mario game's gonna be about. We don't know Pokemon's gonna be about. But if it's Game Freaks, we're gonna have to assume it's a regular Pokemon game, which is what people have wanted on a console for years.
Well, they you know, I saw this story, but I have a problem with it because Game Freaks isn't known for churning out titles quickly.
Uh-oh.
So would this just be a port of Sun and Moon? Because that's what I think it's going to be.
Maybe. I mean, I'm glad you bring that up because if these things are supposed to come out within the first 6 months, think about it. We don't know anything about these games yet, except for Legend of Zelda. We don't know shit about Mario. We don't know shit about Pokemon. So, like, or have they been in production this entire time? They must have been. They're coming on early 2016, right? So I don't know.
2017.
2017. So that it's troubling. It's like, how fast are we really gonna get these games out there? We already know. Think about Legend of Zelda, right? Breath of the Wild. How many times did that get delayed, right? You know, they showed at the fucking MTV Awards, and people were like, "Oh yeah, 2015." Chris and I were like, "That ain't coming out no 2015. Coming out 2017." You know, so you're right. They could just be talking here. You know, so we'll see. But then there's other interesting things that came out of this report. So apparently, Nintendo is actually now really talking to third-party people. They got Sega, Activision, Ubisoft, a couple others on board to help them make games. And supposedly, this system is going to be power-wise is going to be in between a PS3 and a PS4.
It's like the Shield.
So like a Wii U?
It's running off of the Shield engine.
Yeah, I mean, is it a Wii U? Shit. No, it's more powerful than a Wii U, but it's not that much more powerful. But if you're close to a PS4, I guess you can have some other third-party games. They'll just have to probably be 900p or something, But I don't know. And then the source confirmed that yes, you can detach the controllers and play it separately and stuff. And then this is an executive who said this. Very surprising. He said this. He goes, I don't think this thing is made for gamers that are into PS4 and Xbox. It's made for other people. Like, oh fuck.
Well, that's always been Nintendo.
Yeah, it's always
no,
been
that
Nintendo.
hasn't always been Nintendo. That's the bullshit that they pass now. That's the nonsense of Blue Ocean strategy. Let me explain this to you. When they couldn't play with the big boys anymore, then they started adopting this. We'll make everyone a gamer, right? How did that work out? When you make Grandma a gamer and you release Wii Fit and Wii Play and all that stuff, and they only bought one game, and then you release the same exact console with a little more polish on it, what happened? Nobody fucking bought it. Because you're making game system, right? So the Wii U was a fad. The original Wii, the whole idea of motion controls, everything got everybody interested. Everybody's a gamer. No, everybody's not a gamer. They just enjoyed this little fad and they got bored and they put their fucking
the bowling
boards and remotes away, and that was it. Like you need to keep gamers engaged, and that's where Microsoft and Sony have been doing. They know their market, they know where to reach out to, but they don't go like everyone's a gamer. That's ridiculous, You can't reach everyone. You catch the wide net, you're not going to catch anything. And that's exactly what Nintendo did.
Yeah, well, that's what they're trying to do now. I'm gonna read this quote written by me. Okay, so
thrown hard now.
Yeah, so Nintendo is supposedly targeting both smartphone and core gamers with the NX. This is good in theory, but given how these two sides are wildly different, have wildly different tastes, it will be hard to make a system that ends up pleasing both. There you go. You can't make a system that's for smartphone gamers and hardcore gamers. That's going to be weird. PR and marketing has a hell of a battle, ahead of them with this shit.
Oh, yeah. I saw that quote, and let me tell you, they're not up to the task. Nintendo's marketing is the worst, and the Wii U suffered from it. The whole from its launch, from the E3 before till now, they've been trying to sell that system, right? They are not up to the task of trying to engage both hardcore gamers and smartphone users. Like, they're two disparate things. Hardcore console gamers consider mobile bullshit, and they don't look at it. Like, they couldn't be more different. Mobile gamers just want a quick experience. They play a little thing like Brick Breaker or something, or Candy Crush, and they get the little high, they get their little endorphins, and they put it in their pocket and they go to work. Like, you couldn't have two different markets, and I don't think they are capable of selling to either one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Somebody else disagrees with you too, Chris, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Yeah. All right, anybody else have any thoughts on this Nintendo stuff?
Well, again, what Chris was saying with the whole marketing. I mean, look at the new 3DS. A lot of people still get confused with that. Like, what do you mean new? What's new? Well, it has this knob and this. Well, they didn't really advertise it. What's for it? I think there's just one game really that utilizes the features that it included.
Hold on, Adam. I gotta correct you. there's 2 games that utilize it. There's a grand total of 2 games.
Oh my god.
Listen, the only thing new about that 3DS is the money that they took from the people who bought it. That was it. It's exactly what it is. They locked out features from it. Like they said that Super Nintendo games could not run on the 3DS, which is the biggest load of bullshit ever. Like,
oh man! All right, but we're gonna do something that we usually don't do. We're actually gonna give you some good news regarding Nintendo. This
good
is
news. What?
And Manny, I threw this in here specifically for you.
What is this? Who is there?
So Nintendo has made the first 13 years of Nintendo Power available for everyone to download and check out. Very cool. You know,
Yes.
So Manny, tell us. Yeah, Manny, I know you don't you still have some of your Nintendo Powers?
I own every single Nintendo Power up to the launch of the Super Nintendo, like halfway through Super Nintendo.
That's awesome.
I had a lot of them. I remember.
And also, I only started collecting the Nintendo Power magazine. Adam had them before me, but I started only collecting them at the Tetris issue. Tetris issue on, I was collecting Nintendo Powers. But what was great about Nintendo Powers, you could get back issues. So you could, I bought the Dr. Wily issue and the first issue and another one that came before that. So, yeah.
That was the first magazine that I subscribed to. I remember picking it up in the store, and I think the first one had Mario flying on it, right? That was
it was like a claymation Mario.
Yeah, and I'm like, I told my mom, I'm like, I need this every time it comes out. Make it happen. And she was like, all right, and I had a little card, and you fill it in, and then that was it. And then in the mail, once a month, it came out, and it was great. It was the only way you could see, like, full maps. Yep. You know, it's like, I would flip through the pages, open, I'm like, wow, I'm never getting lost in Zelda again.
You remember?
Like, this is great.
You remember how, like, sometimes we get into games that, like, they didn't have full maps? Because some games didn't get full maps, because usually they used to put the maps on the back of the posters, but sometimes they wouldn't. And me and Adam, like, when we get stuck, we'd call up the Nintendo hotline.
Oh, my God. I remember.
And was that a 900 number?
Yes.
We would
ask
did that
at Grandma's house, too, I remember.
We did do it at Grandma's.
Yeah, everywhere. Pretty bad. Pretty bad.
We tried to make it as short as possible. I remember one time I called that stupid number, and I accidentally called somebody else with it. And they're like, is this the Nintendo line? And is like, no, that's this one.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry.
Oh, remember Shadowrun?
Yeah,
remember
Shadowrun.
When all right, I rented that game, and then we got real far and had to bring it back, and I just kept paying them money, and they called me up, and I'm like, no, you have to bring it back. Somebody's waiting for it. I'm like, no, we have to finish this.
Yeah, we haven't finished it yet. Kept rushing it.
Oh man.
I mean, for Nintendo, like I used to, because me and like. He had, I think we both had, no, you had a Genesis. I had the Super Nintendo, and I remember I used to take the train from Queens, which is like the end of one stop in New York, all the way to the bottom, which is bottom of Brooklyn, which is Avenue X, very close to Coney Island.
Yeah, down there.
And I used to just lug my Super Nintendo all the way to his house so we could play games.
Yeah. I remember we used to put our own little tournaments. You remember that? We would like list a bunch of games and like, all right, you have to make it to level 3 in elevator action. Yeah. And then we're gonna play Sega CD. And we're gonna jump from there, and we would do this whole thing. We'll spend a whole weekend and stay up to the wee hours of the day just like playing.
We beat Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear, together.
Yeah, we did. Oh, I remember, and we went to the Nintendo.
The Nintendo Power Championships?
Yeah, and I made it to the stage.
Oh, shit.
To the stage,
I made it to the stage, and I lost because my controller was defective. I couldn't go back. I couldn't press back. And I told the guy who was out there, he was like, all right, and Adam is still trying to collect his 50 coins. I'm like, it's not working. It's not working. And he was like, too bad, kid, it's done. And I'm like,
he actually made it up to the stage twice.
Yeah, I made it up to the stage
because you were like pissed off. You're like, oh,
I was pissed. And in order to do that, you will put in one group. It was like beat 50 people or something, and then go to another group, beat out of 75 people. Then you made it to the stage. Yeah. And then I did that, and the second time I just lost. There was just somebody better when it came to Tetris, but. But yeah, I miss those days. I was like, remember? And then I did the Halo one, and then some kid next to me just kept freaking spawn camping me, and I told him, I was like, this kid's cheating, and then the same thing, a bouncer comes up and says, you gotta get off the stage. I'm like, no, well, the kid is not playing right, and he said, you gotta go. And I'm like, all right, fuck this. And I just got off the stage.
Yeah, I don't really have too many.
Plaza.
I don't really have any like stories, regarding Nintendo Power. I never bought it because when I was a kid, I didn't have any money, so it was like, okay, Nintendo Power or EGM. I always picked EGM. That was like the main one. Actually, and then of course, mainly what happened when I found out about GameFan, I'm like, fuck EGM. I mean, I'm going to GameFan.
GameFan was the one. The GameFan was like the one because they always had the best screenshots, and their artists. The artist they had, Terry Wolfinger, was awesome. He did all those cool airbrush covers on that book.
Dude, that's how
that TV-headed guy.
Yeah, and then remember we found, that's how we found out about our friend Jen through fucking GameFan. We were like, yo, this girl, there was this girl that
she wrote this letter. Our friend Jen, me, Chris, and Tony's friend Jen. She wrote this really fun letter to GameFan about how they have all these pictures of Chun-Li, but there's not enough stuff with Guile. She was actually talking about the Capcom illustration book, and she was really pissed off about it because she was a big fan of them. And it's funny, I contacted Jen around the time, like when I first got on the internet, actually, and I was like, hey, I'm on Earth 2, blah blah blah, and then we started talking from there. And then she met Chris, and she was good friends with Christian, so it was all that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I want to, I always talk to Jen about having her on Throwdown. I keep forgetting. We got to get her on the show, man.
Sure.
Real gamer too,
And she was a big Street Fighter fan. She always used to get into those video game magazines. Like GameFan was like the one she got into a bunch. She also got into PSM, which was essentially the GameFan people. But Nintendo Power.
Yeah, I'll tell the Jen story when we get her on. It's hilarious. But hey, Chris, what about you? You have any Nintendo Power stories?
Yes, I actually had most of these issues that are in this archive, and then I went to college. And then when I came back from college,
and they were gone.
My mom threw them all out. I'm looking through this archive. It's making me sad because I'm like, I had all of this shit. I had them all collected too, all sorted, everything. They even had the maps. I never pulled out the maps to hang them up. I left the issue like pristine.
Yeah.
All that shit is in the garbage.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Brett, what about you, man?
Oh, I own all of them. I still have a bunch of them somewhere. I ran across my issue number 1 the other day.
That's awesome. So any cool stories related to Nintendo Power you have?
Not much that I remember, man. Like, I started, like...
Man, I was too high in the 80s.
No, dude, like, I started playing Zelda before I could read. Like, my first playthrough of Zelda's... first 3 playthroughs of Zelda was just wandering around trying dungeons until something fucking happened. So I got IGN's, or I got Nintendo Power super early, and that pretty much kick-started a lifelong obsession with, like, man, I had at one point like 3 or 4 magazines. I had a PC gaming magazine, a Nintendo magazine. I had every magazine pretty much ever, from Dreamcast and Nintendo Power to Electronic Gaming Monthly to man, I forget which magazine it is, but I have one I ran across the other day that was announcing NBA Jam.
Oh shit!
I was like, oh shit, NBA Jam, and it has a Clay Fighter on the same magazine.
Was that
I want to say
GamePro or something, man.
I think it might have been a video GamePro.
Yeah, GamePro, son.
I remember GamePro.
So they all blur together into an entire childhood of just like coming home and like I'd buy them. Like I'd go do yard work, and then when I got paid for the yard work, I'd go and buy one of the magazines and come home and I'd read through it and I'd read all the reviews, and first thing I'd do is I'd read all the letters because I love the snarky internet fights that people would have in the letter sections, and then I'd pop through the art and I'd be amazed / horrified at what some people did. I'd read about all the big stories, and then I'd flip into the back and I'd read about what games were coming up, and I'd read all the reviews, and I only had so much money, and I had to scrimp and save $2 here, $3 here, a few dollars here, in order to buy a game. So I had to choose very carefully. So Eventually, my family saw me spending more money than was probably wise on these video game magazines as opposed to the video games, and so it became an obvious Christmas present or birthday present. So usually by the time Christmas was in December, my birthday was in January. So usually by the time February rolled around, I'd be pretty well set for most of my subscriptions for the year, and I'd get 2-3 magazines every month. And I'd lay them out on the floor, and I'd pour through them, and I'd read all of them, and so it's funny these days. People are like, man, I'd rather play video games than read about them. I'm like, man, I love doing both, and I've always loved doing both.
Man,
I love forums before there were forums.
It's people that just watch walkthroughs. They're like, oh yeah, I saw the whole thing of Batman, and Arkham Knight. I'm like, oh, you played it? No, I just watched the whole thing on YouTube.
Some people. What some people do is they do that to be a part of the conversation too.
Yeah.
It's a game that they're not totally interested in, but they want to be part of the conversation, so they'll watch a game.
Yeah, I had a buddy like that at work with Uncharted 4, and he was like, yeah, Chapter 10 had a lot of crazy scenes and stuff. I'm like, oh, what part did you get stuck at? He's like, oh, no, I'm just watching it. I've never played it. I don't even own a PlayStation. I'm like, oh. I was like, oh, yeah, I never thought about just sitting there and watching a playthrough.
Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, there you go, Nintendo Power. Oh, by the way, so yeah, only the first 13 years, right? I guess they're gonna just not put out anything from the years that don't matter when I guess, cause, I mean, they probably have some good stuff for the GameCube, obviously, but after that,
it's funny. It's weird because at the point that I had the Super Nintendo when the Super Nintendo came out, I kind of stopped looking officially. I stopped caring about the Nintendo Power book.
You stopped caring about Nintendo, period, dude.
This was at Super Nintendo time, so
No, but I mean, after Super, you stopped during the Super Nintendo?
Because number one that happened about it is that I just wasn't really reading it. I was more into EGM and more into Game Fan than I was into Nintendo, because at that time I realized, hey, this is essential. How is it that how can I believe this company when they talk about reviews when they're making they're actually making the book? To be honest, I want to know what somebody outside of Nintendo thinks of a game, because obviously every single game is going to be amazing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. Nintendo's not going to give a Nintendo game a bad review.
They're not going to give a bad review. They're not going to say, oh my God, this third-party game is a bad review either.
Yeah, I mean, that was ultimately what kept me away from Nintendo. It's like, why would I buy a dedicated gaming magazine? The only one I ever bought was Dreamcast magazine, not for obvious reasons, Dreamcast, but PlayStation magazine, or I'm like, I'm not buying this shit.
The official PlayStation magazine. You bought the PSM.
Yeah, but PSM had those dope covers. That's why.
They had covers that were done by comic book artists and stuff.
Joe Madureira and stuff,
Joe Mad, Adam Hughes, all those guys.
Crazy shit. So yeah, there you go.
Those are quality magazines too, with the squared off binding.
Hell yeah, dude.
I know the first time I got one of those, I was like, oh, holy fuck, it's not just a mid staple. Oh, look at this. It's got corners on it.
Quality.
Read the binding.
Yeah, Nintendo Power, the only time you ever got corners like that is the special edition strategy guides.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had from Final Fantasy or Zelda, they'd make these special ones that you would get along with your normal subscription. Not like nowadays. If they were to put out a book nowadays, they wouldn't. If they made a special strategy guide, you would have to pay for it separately. But all that stuff was included when you got a subscription.
Yeah. That's the other thing about Nintendo magazine. It always seemed cheap to me compared to the other ones out there. They didn't stand up to the normal rigors of being a kid. Like me I used to carry that issue of Nintendo Power, the one with the Tetris, in my bag. I carried that for a while because there was a really good Batman section in that one. It was talking about the Batman game, one of the Batman games that came out at the time, and had at that point I think Killing Joke had come out, so there was some shots from Killing Joke, drawn in there by the artists from Killing Joke, like that sequence where he's talking to the Joker underneath the light. That was in there. Oh, Brian Boland did some stuff. That's pretty cool.
It wasn't new stuff. I think it was just shots from Killing Joke they put in there to kind of populate the Batman story that they were running.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all right. And the last thing here, you know, keeping it old school. Okay, so I don't remember when we did this, what Throwdown was, but I think it was me. I brought up Aladdin, right? Okay, actually, no, somebody asked us, like, what franchises do you want back? I'm like, yo, I want fucking Aladdin back. The internet gods listen to me, man. Fucking Good Old Games, right? Carl, is that the name? Good Old Games?
GOG Gaming or something like that. Green Man Gaming.
Yeah, Green Man. No, that's Green Man.
Man's a store. It's a GOG is that deals with the old ones. Yeah, GOG.
Yeah, so GOG, they decided today to put out Aladdin, The Lion King, and The Jungle Book all together. They didn't remaster or nothing, just a straight up games. Man, I bought these with the quickness, man. I was playing Aladdin this afternoon with the fucking Xbox controller, you know. It was great, man.
You get to listen to that good old fashioned, you know, Tommy Tallarico music.
Yeah, right. Dude, and that game, man, graphically still holds up, man. That animation was slick.
Oh yeah,
boy.
you know, I saw behind the scenes of it years ago, and what it is that they actually got a bunch of Disney animators to do the sprite animations for it.
Oh, see, there you go.
So yeah, they had some serious. Virgin used to put some serious work into their games. Like you got a Virgin game from those days. Like they would put some really great work inside of that stuff, and that was the one that kind of they started doing. After that point, they started doing all the games like that, where they were all, you know, and all these sequences were animated by hand and then made into sprites.
Yeah, so man, yeah, I was happy. Damn, that game is harder than I remember. Shit.
No, the carpet section, the lava is the hardest section in that game.
It's funny because Kristen was playing it today also, but she's playing the Super Nintendo one.
That shit don't count.
Oh.
Yeah, Kristen's not here. And actually, I did like the Super Nintendo one, but when I played the one on Genesis, I'm like, oh shit. This is a whole other level,
I mean,
man.
Granted that like it has a lot more acrobats and stuff like acrobatics in the Nintendo one, but man, the Genesis one, that one's good.
Yeah, because you saw how big Aladdin is in the screen too. Like the Super Nintendo when he's all small, you know. And
then his idle animation with the apple, where he's he does that little thing, he flips it around and does all that stuff.
Yeah, that Genesis one. Because remember, back in the day, the Super Nintendo was graphically better than the Genesis, right? But that game, like, okay, yeah, you guys kind of have it, you know. Like, it didn't have as much colors as the Super Nintendo one. But here's the thing: people probably feel like, wait a minute, why are you talking about why are you talking about this version, that version? There were actually two completely different games.
Yeah, like, one was made by Capcom and one was made by Virgin.
Exactly.
Two different companies had the rights to do an Aladdin game on two different consoles.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the other two games I mentioned? They're the same on both consoles, right?
Yes. Lion King was the same company, and what was the other one?
Jungle Book.
Jungle Book. Yeah, I think both of those are Virgin games too. I think.
Yeah, but they look good. So I was pretty happy playing that shit, man. As a matter of fact, I've just been in a little bit of nostalgia mode lately because I had to. You know what? Since we're kind of done with these stories, let's stick around for a little bit. Okay, so. Probably tomorrow or today, whenever, I am going to be putting up a video on Geek.com where I'm going to be unboxing these. Now, if you guys, who are just listening, I'm holding. This is an 8BitDo wireless Nintendo controller, right? The thing is, I don't have a Nintendo console to play this shit on. You
can use the emulator. It works with emulators.
So what I did was, my homeboy John. I was like, I asked him, like, hey, can I borrow a Super Nintendo? How can I plug it in? He's like, dude, I'm just gonna let you borrow my Retron 5.
There you go.
Yo, I was playing fucking Super Mario Brothers 3, Donkey Kong, fucking all this shit last night with these controllers. It's awesome.
You put it on your TV, right? Did you use the Retron to upsample it?
Yeah, man, it looks nice. I put the scan lines in it and everything,
nice.
It looks really good. Now, these controllers, the cool thing is they actually work on PCs, too. If you notice, look at the buttons. The Nintendo did not have 4 buttons, right? Nope. The reason is because this is supposed to play other games as well. You can play any game that runs on your PC that supports controllers, you can use this, It's really nice. And there's also the Super Nintendo version of it.
Are you going to use the Super Nintendo one more?
I use both of them. Man, that's super... Okay, because I didn't take into account the fact that when I was playing Nintendo, I was a little kid. That controller is small, man.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty tiny.
Yeah. Shit.
It actually hurts. Even then... that Nintendo controller always used to hurt my hands.
Yes,
like
man.
It always digs into the palm of your hand, and it always hurt. I remember. I remember the Max.
The Max, that
The
was
Max
a fun
controller.
one.
Now that's like current shape right now. It had like a semi-analog stick on it. And
Well, remember, I picked up the Advantage, and that actually had the stick.
That one was an arcade stick.
Yeah.
One, you had the Advantage, and I had the Max.
And I had the little swivel for the that was it. It was like a little analog stick, and
the only thing about the Max's D-pad is that you had to constantly, like I always constantly had to fix it, because what happened was that it would just not work right. Like, eventually everything would wear down, and you had to fix it up. So I got really good at fixing that controller.
Yeah, I want to show this to people. So there's the controller, right? Super Nintendo. I mean, the Nintendo, and it even has these on there. Because remember, it has to play a variety of games, and there's the back. But you're right, when you play it, it really hurts. Like the inside right here.
Yeah, it hurts your hands.
But the Super Nintendo.
The Super Nintendo one, that one's a good one.
Slick, look at
That's
this.
the one. I was gonna get that a few months ago, but I'm like, when am I gonna use it?
Yeah. There's the triggers and shit, and they're pretty cheap too. The Nintendo one was $20. This is $24. And if you're into retro gaming, this is the shit you need. Man.
Speaking of retro gaming, that there's that one Genesis thing that's out now that has like 100 games in it.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually stick a real cartridge inside of it.
Oh yeah, I have that.
Yeah, I think I saw it at Toys R Us or something like that.
Yeah, it's tiny too. Yeah, I put my Genesis cartridges in there. It comes with like 80 games or something like that.
And Chris, have you played some of your new cartridges? I know you've been buying some old games too, right?
Yeah, I've been testing it out, dude. Some of them I don't know where people were storing them. Like I bought a copy of like Wizards and Warriors for NES, right? And I open up the cartridge because I put the Q-tip in there with alcohol, right?
Yeah.
I'm pulling out all this like orange gunk out of it. I'm like, what the fuck? I open this thing and I'm like, what did you do to this thing, right? I'll see the board and shit. Man. Yeah.
That's
Manny, where's your collection? Is it still at your mom's?
Yeah, my original Nintendo was with my mom. I was just never able to bring it over. Eventually, I planned to bring all that shit over.
It's not even that. I mean, you had the 3DO, right?
I still have, my mom still has my 3DO. I still have, I gave my Sega CD over to a friend in Canada. He's a huge video game collector, so, I mean, I don't want to go through all the trouble of selling. I'd much rather have somebody that I know have it. So I gave him quite a bit of my games. But I still have the 3DO. I still have a bunch of the 3DO games. I still have my Nintendo. My Super Nintendo freaking died years ago. It died like in the mid-90s, and I never bothered to replace it.
Oh, man.
Plus, the thing is, if I ever get the urge to play Super Nintendo, there's actually a really good retro gaming store, like maybe about a mile away from my house.
Well, you could play it now on your Vita.
I can play it on my Vita.
Yes.
Super Nintendo now.
Mr. Segway, but let's hold off on that because I want to show you guys the last thing. Now, you can actually plug these controllers into the old consoles via these. Look at it.
Adapters. Nice.
Cool, right? Little adapters, the Bluetooth adapters, right?
Yep.
But they look just like they're supposed to, And then that's the one for Super Nintendo. Then here's the one for Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool shit, man.
Well, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but why do you need the NES Mini now? Like,
I mean, I'm glad you bring that because these controllers, I'm just gonna be completely honest, they're the same shit. I was playing Nintendo games with this because box-wise they look different. They're the same controller. There's no difference. This is exact same controller. But the company
it's like pick your poison.
Hey, but the company said
Super Nintendo.
So hey, I'm not complaining. But Chris, you're right. There's no difference. Pick one or the other. They're gonna work exactly the same. But Adam, segue, man. What's going on with the Vita now? This is interesting.
If
Finally
you have
happened,
Yeah, well, in a way, because what it does is, and I was going to do it probably this weekend, because I have a buddy at work, and he's like, yeah, I already did it. So what it is you go on a website, and through this website, it'll have a little install file that will let you install the file that you need, so that way you can run homebrews, pretty much, bring it back to homebrews. You need the latest version, I think it's 3.60, right, which is the latest firmware, and that's it. You can put your homebrews. Now, they don't have a homebrew app that lets you play backups, which is what a lot of people probably want to do with it. And I mean, that's not a thing for me, but I'm more interested in playing like Super Nintendo and bringing the classics, because that's what I did on my old one, and that's available now. So I mean, you don't have to do much when it comes to the hacking. You do have to install after you install that application. There's a FTP client that you have to run from your PC, so that way you can connect in and you could dump the rest of the files. But you can put your ROMs and stuff, and yeah, you can play your Super Nintendo and some other emulators that they have on there, and use your Vita for that. I mean, and at least until Sony decides to block it, which they will. They'll come out with a firmware, and it'll be up to you if you want to then upgrade. But it's a lot easier than doing what I did with the PSP and stuff, where you had to do the custom firmware and do all this other stuff, and then it would flag your device, and then the blah, blah, blah. You know, right now it's just visiting the website from the Vita, and that'll install the file, so then that way you can get everything done.
It's a little too late. Too little, too late though. Because remember, that's the thing that helped the PSP get so big. You know?
Yeah.
But now,
well, that's
no one,
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, let's see, now that this is available, and I know Sony will probably be like, oh, we got to fix this, and I'm sure there's got to be at least one person like, well, let's hold off on that. Let's see if this boosts sales for the hardware.
I think, you know, especially with the way the Vita is still, the console's not doing as well, but the games are doing very well.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that, you know, it might take a little while longer for the firmware updates to come to fix it, because it's not really a priority anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely. That is true. It's a good point, you know, because there is going to be a point where they're not going to do these firmware updates anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
But the thing is that you could still go to the PlayStation Portable store and buy stuff. So
yeah, well, that's it. That's the only time that'll become an issue, and is if, let's say, they do come up with a firmware. So let's say you try to go to the store to get something new, and I'm like, oh, you have to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that's where you get into that debate. It's like, should I upgrade? How important is it for me to run these emulators? Because they clearly say right now it only supports that firmware. You know,
Yeah.
and it might turn into a cat and mouse like the way it was with the 360 with their firmware, with Commodore's firmware for the drive itself. But that's a cool feature if you're interested in wanting to, you know, load some of your ROMs on there and take them on the go. You know.
I wonder if is a PlayStation Vita able to run PlayStation 2 games? It is, right?
That's a good question.
Let me check right now. Hold on.
I'll ask the fans there. Can it actually do that?
I know it's supposed to be like, it's not exactly PlayStation 3, but I remember them saying it was very close to the PlayStation 3 and not, you know, and more and stronger than a 2.
The Vita, right?
The Vita, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I actually, you know, while we're waiting for that answer, I want to talk about something interesting. So earlier this week on Monday, I got a review code for Batman, right? Telltale Batman, and I'm like, cool. You know, I got it for Steam, downloaded it, popped in my controller, and nothing was happening at all. I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And I attempted to play with mouse and keyboard. That shit, no, I could not do it. It's just so alien, you know? And then I looked around, and apparently, I didn't know this, Telltale games are not compatible with Xbox One controllers if you're running Steam with Windows 10. Crazy, right?
Interesting.
So I went to GameStop, you know, the day I went to go see Suicide Squad. I'm like, hey, let me buy a 360 controller, you know, because I know that works. So the girl found me a 360 controller, but it didn't have the wire on it. If it didn't have the wire, I couldn't play it, you know. So I was like, literally, just give me a PC controller, I'll be good. So I ended up buying this shit. I don't know, you know, if you guys can see it. It's called the Afterglow. I don't know what company makes this. It looks like a PlayStation 3 controller, basically, right?
I mean, it literally has PlayStation 3 controllers.
Yeah, you see it right there. And it, you know, it works good. But the interesting is when I plugged it into the game, and it worked right from the bat. Right from the bat, it worked. It turns the buttons into Xbox buttons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I had to be aware of that. But I want to talk about Batman real quick because they fucked up that game in the beginning. Like, you know, like when I booted it up, it didn't take up the whole screen and stuff. Like if I wanted to save my settings, I had to leave, right? Like it didn't have a proper save function. And then when I would boot the game back up, it wouldn't save any of my shit.
Interesting.
You know? And then other people reporting problems that like the game was running at 10 to 20 frames a second, you know, crazy shit. And then apparently this, I didn't know this, but maybe this was the issue. Apparently the game wasn't running from your dedicated GPU, right? It was running from like whatever other GPU was in your system or whatever.
Or your CPU.
Or your CPU. It was running off the CPU, so it was all fucked up. So they patched it. When I started playing it, it was fine, but that's kind of weird.
You know, I hate to say this, and I don't want to, because I enjoyed watching the game. We watched the first chapter played, at E3. Now, mind you, when me and Chris and got to see it, that game had a horrible freeze in it, like some really bad glitches.
It's funny you mention that because when Richard was watching it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It completely.
It's the same one. It's the same one. The same time we saw Richard too.
Okay, shit.
And, like what happened was the game did not, like when they went through a certain part, like the whole game would not load, and they did it multiple times. Like it didn't even show up on.
Yeah, we had the demo 3 times because twice it crashed at some point or messed up horribly.
And they didn't have, and the thing is that they don't have since they were playing the game from beginning to end, there was no internal save states, so just in case they
start over.
So we watched like 30 minutes, and then we watched it another 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were in there a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, the reason I want to talk about it is like, okay, Telltale, they always have problems with their fucking engine, man. Like supposedly this is an upgraded one, and it's still fucked up. And I could be wrong, but I believe that's because they have to make these games for every single console. Shit happens,
Yeah,
like
it's every single platform is going to be getting that game. Yeah.
Thank you, Manny. Platform, because it's not just consoles. It's was it handhelds? I think have it, and mobile phones too.
Yeah, it's going to be on mobile or tablets, and it's going to be. I mean, I don't know if it's on Vita.
And it's the same studio
No,
doing
not on Vita yet, but it will be. All of them usually make it.
Yeah, what happened, Carlos?
And it's the same studio, like developer doing everything, all the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Well, here's the thing. When game developers don't just build the game for one thing and then just transport it to other things. It's usually they're developing it for the engine and then they can export it to go to these other things. But obviously, still those things need to be QA'd. And obviously, the PC version, which is weird, didn't get a lot of QA.
Yeah, so it's kind of fucked up, but the game's running now, and I played the whole chapter, because it's a Telltale games, it's short.
Did you like hearing friggin' something? The guy who played
Troy
Baker as Batman, and hearing Sully as one of the other guys.
Yeah, Sully is the Don. He's what's his name? The main bad guy. Falcone. Yeah, he's Falcone.
What am I doing here, Nate?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like Troy Baker as Batman.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
he's in too many games right now. It's like I hear him and I'm thinking of
the thing is that
I like Troy Baker as an actor. I just don't think he's a good Batman. That's all my thing. I'm like, no, I'm not buying it.
But the thing is, they're also putting a weird distortion on his voice.
No, but I'm talking about even when he's just like, because remember, he turns it off sometimes. Like when he's talking to Alfred, he turns the distortion off. He only turns it on. Like even with Catwoman, he turned it off. But it just, I was not feeling it.
I wish somebody would tell the new Batmans. So Batman, it's great to talk to you, but you fucking sound annoying. You sound like a friggin' auto-tuned, like you're auto-tuned by some rapper.
But I enjoyed it. The thing is, people were worried about, is this game going to be visceral enough? Yeah, even though it's QTs, you still feel badass, like Batman. Telltale was always making great games, so I'm definitely going to enjoy it. It just sucks I have to wait until the next one, but
I'm not even touching any of those games until like the final chapter. Kind of like what I did with Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead. Just one shot.
That's what I used to do until I became a game reviewer. Now I can't do that.
I have no patience. I have to do it. I have to do it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I have no choice because that's why I'm like, fuck that. I'm waiting. Now I can't do that, But it's all good. And that's pretty much it for the show. So a couple of things here. So, okay, Suicide Squad shit. Okay, so we got our video review up. We're going to have a written review up. And we're going to do spoiler alert. So, we're going to have that movie covered from every angle, man.
So when are you going to be doing the spoiler alert?
On Sunday afternoon, we're going to plan to, record it. So
nice.
It'll be good. We're going to have Gary on, Richard. Dana wants to be on,
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty wild. It's going to be a very good show. And then the other thing, this just came down yesterday. So we're going to have a new episode of Versus.
Whoa.
The show's coming back. Charles called out Chris. He wants to challenge him. So
No,
we're gonna
isn't it always Charles that's calling out somebody? You know, I love you, Charles, but you are fucking confrontational as fuck. Seriously, bro. It's like somebody says something like,
I cut you! I cut you!
I cut you. You said something I don't like.
Yeah,
So
actually,
what is Charles's problem now?
well, okay, apparently, and it's not, Chris is just the focal point because he's the one that wrote that editorial, but apparently he doesn't like what people have been saying about Nintendo, how everybody's all pessimistic about it and stuff, how they're going to fail with the NX and all that, and he just wants to counter all that with Chris. And my thing is like, okay, I'm that's great, you're going to do it, but Charles, really have your eggs, with your Dutch in a row, because Chris is the man when it comes. This ain't Damien you're facing off against now. This is Chris with Nintendo. Ooh, this is going to be a great one. So these guys are going to record it tomorrow night at the same time we normally would do Throwdown. So be prepared for that.
So who's moderating? Are you moderating?
Probably Richard. I don't think I'm going to be home when that's going down.
Well, okay.
I'm seeing Suicide Squad again.
Yo, man, what you going to see that movie that you hate?
I don't hate it. The movie was, the first half was good. I liked the first half. It's the last half I have a problem with. So yeah, Chris, any thoughts about this challenge?
Just come prepared, Charles, because I have 6 years of financial reports in front of me.
Oh.
Yo, Chris went in with that editorial, man. I'm telling you.
It was a lot. I read it. It's a lot of work, man. I mean, let's give you your honorary journalism degree for that shit.
Journalism. He did real journalism, but I do want to give a shout out to Charles because now he was off the game for a little bit. Now he's coming back. The latest episode of Knights of the Turntable. He brought that back. I'm not exaggerating. 27,000 hits.
Nice.
Nuts, and he's gonna be.
Charles was in that hyperbaric chamber, just waiting to pull out.
He came out of the Odin sleep.
He's in the Odin sleep, or he was in the friggin' what was it? The hyperbaric time chamber from Dragon Ball Z.
He's like training.
Yeah, he came out beefier. His hair was spikier. He looked like Gohan right there, when he came out of the chamber. So yeah, be prepared for that. I'm looking forward to hearing that one. I wanted to be the moderator, but I think I may be too close to Chris right there.
You are the moderator.
So it'll be interesting. So look forward to that. And that is pretty much it. Oh, and the last announcement I want to make. I told Adam this earlier, and we're gonna make it kind of official now. So Adam, I want you to be on Throwdown whenever you can, man. That'd be pretty.
No
awesome.
Problem.
I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Tell the people what's going on with your life.
Oh, let's see. I'm moving into my first house. My wife and I, we just bought a home, so we closed on the 11th. That's great. We also are expecting our second child, and that child is expected to arrive on the 26th. She's going to give birth on the 26th. So this is all within 1 month. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so so basically the door will be open for you Thursday. We never change the time, so you'll be here. It's not like with Carlos. Like Carlos, if you're not here, we're gonna get on your ass. But yeah.
Well, I mean, but Carlos, you're on the East Coast, right?
No, he's not. He's on Teja.
Mountain time. That elusive.
Oh, okay. So you and Adam,
well,
and
now
Chris are all on the same.
No, because he's Mountain Time. I'm Central Time.
Oh, you're
Central Time also, yeah.
For you guys that don't know, I'm in Iowa now. So.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you've been in Iowa for like 2 years.
Yeah. Now it'll be going on a second year. Yeah, go on a second year.
Crazy.
So crazy. Time flies, man. Time flies.
Or you know.
We got 2 Xbox.
Oh! Real quick though.
Adam, the story. Tell him the story real quick. The Xbox shit.
Wait. No, this is something about dumpsters. Did you hear about this? That people are swimming in dumpsters. Now you live in Philly.
Listen. I don't live in Philly. I answered this, and obviously it was all debunked. But it's. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if people were swimming in dumpsters with the amount of homeless people that are in Philadelphia. Like I was there. I visited there years ago. Me and Chris went there for like a convention or something, right? And we went out at night, like late at night, to go to like maybe one of the local Wawas or whatever, like a 7-Eleven, and they were literally walking around the street like Night of the Living Dead. Like going down the street, there'd be like 20 of these freaking homeless people standing in the middle of the street, shuffling toward you. Now this is before the South Park episode that literally made the parallel between homeless people and zombies.
Okay, hold on. I gotta ask a question. Is like swimming in a dumpster like the opposite of is that like the opposite of what Scrooge McDuck does? Like
they were filling up. Supposedly, the report, it was from NPR, is that they were filling up dumpsters with water to make them into like pools, and people were swimming in them. So you remember, like in Brooklyn and stuff, they'll open up a fire hydrant, right? And people just run in front of the fire hydrant. Well, now they're filling these things up into dumpsters and swimming in them.
What the fuck is wrong?
That's what I'm saying. So I sent this out, and then Manny's the only one that replied back because I think everyone is like, no, that's not true. People in Philly can't be doing that. They're like, they can't be doing that.
That takes dumpster diving to a whole other level, man.
Whole other level, man.
Holy shit, man.
Whole other level.
Oh god. Okay. Ugh. Man, you're gonna get that shit in your mouth too.
That's
man.
what I'm saying. Well, but
They're like, yeah, we clean them out. It's like, no.
No, you don't.
Listen, I just think it's silly. I think it's just something silly somebody thought of.
Is it bums doing this shit?
No, people. They said it's like for the heat. Just regular kids and stuff filling it up and swimming in it.
Man, I hope these kids get the worst diseases possible, Holy shit. But anyway, Adam, tell us, to end things off, your Microsoft story, the gamer tag thing or whatever that you were showing me before.
Oh, yes. I wonder, I think a few other people got it. They sent out these new badges. And I received an email, and they were like, "Oh, because you're now the elite of the elite, because you have the over 100K gamer score, I got this Warlord badge, and that pretty much tells me that I beat the system. That's it. If that's the highest you can go, then I guess that's it. So yeah, now I have this new badge that has like a Warlord type helmet, and and they said, well, because I have over 100 gamer score, 123,000 or something like that." So it's something that they've been sending out, and I was like, all right, well.
Yeah, like, have you ever heard of any other things that sound higher than that? Like,
no, that's it. They were like, this is it. This is what you've done it. It's as if I beat the game, It's like,
you beat the game of achievements.
Yeah, that's what I felt like, because I'm like, is this it? And they're like, yeah, you're the Warlord. This is the highest honor we can bestow.
What else? What else comes with being a Warlord? Do you get minions?
Well, they gave me money. They gave me money. They gave me 800 something points or something. But usually that's what they've been doing. I have to say they've been giving me like $5 here, $10 here within my Xbox account and stuff. And they were like, "Thanks for playing." And I sent that over to Tony with a screenshot. I'm like, "Look, I did it. I beat the system."
Yeah, that's it. I don't need to go back now.
Yeah, I don't. That's what it's basically telling me. And like, what's the point then? It's like, well, I need a new challenge, and so now I'm building up my score on the PSN. I'm getting all my trophies and stuff.
How many platinums you got, man?
I'm weak on that though.
You gotta work your platinum game, son.
I got me like 23 platinums or 20.
I'm telling you, I've been cheesing with the platinums. I've been going after like the Telltales.
Yeah, I was about to tell you that.
Easy platinums. You just like that was one thing with Batman. People were like, "Oh, who's gonna play Batman? I'll just wait." And they're like, it comes with a platinum. It's like, oh, that's easy.
So does Life is Strange. I mean,
Yeah, I have that one too. If you look at my playlist, if anybody wants to go on Adam Fibro, that's 5 and BORO, that's my tag, and I play all those adventure games, point and clicks. I have them all. So, and that's it. It's just easy, and they're fun. You sit there, you do the story. It always gives you the end result, unless it's Until Dawn. That game kicks my ass. Oh my god! I played it through like 2 times. I can't get the good ending. I always screw up with something. And then there's no go backs. Even though I have all the episodes unlocked, you got to start from the beginning again.
Oh, that sucks. It's not like Heavy Rain where you could go back to a.
Oh no. And Until Dawn, if one person dies, that's it. They're dead. Even if you like shut it down real quick and try to reload, it takes like a snapshot.
Wow.
So there is none of that. It's like this is it. You've made that choice.
That's
so I've been trying to get the good ending for forever. I mean, I still have it installed on my PlayStation. I refuse to uninstall it because I keep thinking I have the walkthroughs. I know how to go. It's not like they change up the QTEs. Yeah. So I just have to make sure I can do it. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, I got this. And then instead of I press triangle and fuck, he fell. He's dead. Oh shit. I gotta do it all over. Oh, here's the worst part of it. For anybody who's played the Until Dawn, they probably know this. at the beginning of the game, they're teaching you how to shoot, right? So they're like, oh, shoot this can, shoot this, and then there's a squirrel and a little bird. I shot both of them. I was like, all right, what's the big deal? And it was like, oh, some little karma thing popped up, and we've seen those in the Telltale game. So I'm like, yeah, probably means nothing. So this is one part, not to give too much away, but that character is running from a bad guy. So I'm running, I'm doing all the QTEs, and then you get into a hole, and it was like, yeah, press triangle, and then you'll turn off your flashlight, right? And it wasn't working. And I saw like this weird butterfly effect thing, and it wasn't working. And I looked up online, and apparently because I shot a bird earlier, or the squirrel, it screwed it up. So now I could never do that. I have to do it all over. Now it's like in chapter 5. So I have to replay the previous chapters.
There's different portions of karma within the game. There's karma within the characters. There's also karma with the environment. So things that if you shoot animals or kill animals and stuff like that, that also has an effect on things that happen in the future in the game.
And I didn't know that. I was so pissed, and I thought it was like a glitch. I'm like, I even watched some walkthroughs, and I'm like, yeah, you'll see a little triangle, press it, and I'm like, I'm not getting that until I read on the forums, and I'm like, yeah, if you shot this bird or the squirrel, you're done. You have to start over.
Damn.
You shoot the bird and you shoot the squirrel, you get it. Well, no, you hit the bird. You hit the bird with the snowball.
Yeah, there's a bird with the snowball, and then there was when they're shooting with the BB gun. So it was the bird with the snowball. That was it, because that's with the girl, and then we were doing a snowball fight with the boyfriend. And I'm like, I don't, but it's brutal. It's brutal, but it was a great game. It's a great game, and it's just it was released at a bad time.
Yeah,
I think
it did really well actually. It sold like 1 million copies, maybe more than that. It actually came out at a good time because there was nothing fucking out at that.
Metal Gear was coming.
Metal Gear wasn't out at that point because until Dawn came out in August. Metal Gear came out in September.
Metal Gear came out in September. The one that had it bad with Metal Gear was Mad Max.
Mad Max.
Yeah. Mad Max. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Mad Max. I
still have yet to get back to that game.
Me too. Oh, I did a share play, and then that was another thing I forgot to mention with some of the Xbox guys that were flaming on me. I'm like, PlayStation has share play. Share play is a badass thing. I remember one day I'm just sitting there drinking, playing Mad Max. Buddy jumped on. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm playing this fucking game. He's like, "All right, let me play with you." So he would do the driving, and then when we get to base, I'd do the shooting. And then once I was done, I'm like, "All right, here." Gave him back control and let him do the driving around and stuff. That's great. It gave me that feel of like couch co-op.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about, That's why I love that feature. It's fantastic,
Well,
it's a great feature.
I feel like an S rank in Metal Gear.
Oh yeah, that's it. I gave me the S rank, and then I have a buddy of mine who wound up killing like some boss for me in Bloodborne, and I had somebody made a comment. He was like, "Damn, I thought you weren't gonna play that well. It wasn't really me." It was my other buddy. He was like showing me, and he was like, "Yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that." I'm like, "Where am I going next?" And he's like, "Don't worry, I'll just go. And then he went and he killed the guy, and that's it. But yeah, no, it's a great feature. I love that feature.
Yeah, that's the best.
I love that. It's one of the best. Our cousin, Manny's brother, Jose.
Yeah.
When he never knew about it, and he's had a PlayStation 4 for a while, and he got Doom. So then I sent him a share play.
You know what's silly? Like I invited him to the thing. To the share play session because he's like, "Yeah, man, what you playing? Oh, you're playing Gravity Rush?" I'm like trying to invite him. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know how to activate it."
Yeah, no, that's it. That's what he was telling me. He sent me a text on my phone. I don't know what you're doing. I'm like, what? I'm like, listen, just follow the prompt. Just accept it. And then he was like, all right, what's happening now? I'm like, I see what you're playing. You're moving left. How are you watching me? I'm like, it was just blowing his mind. So he was like, this is great. But it is a cool feature. I'm just also surprised that Sony doesn't advertise it more.
Yeah, they should. It's like, hey, you guys remember couch co-op? Well, you could simulate it with share play.
It almost makes every game into a demo if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because if a friend of yours has it, and it's like, damn, I'm thinking about getting it. You know what? Let me see how it is. Let me see.
And it does that little fun thing too. Whenever you play share play, it pops a little thing like, "Hey, you want to play this game? You saw you were playing it."
Yeah, and in some games you could play together. Like if it has 2-player local co-op, you could play. I remember I played with Daniel. We played Street Fighter, and we did wrestling. Of course, the WWE 2K16. We played that. That was fun.
Oh man. By the way, why are people still talking about this fucking gorilla? The Harambe, it's like people are still talking about him,
Well, I know there was a thing that they made stickers for president.
Yeah, Resident. Oh, it's hilarious.
Dead gorilla probably be better than whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other issue. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that. I was about to say, I'm gonna stop that. Oh, quick thing. So next week on Throwdown, we're gonna have somebody that some of you guys may know, the Titanfall Princess. I've been friends with her on Twitter for the last couple of months and stuff. She's cool. Now she has some interesting stories because she used to be on that other podcast we don't like, and they started talking shit about her. So I wanna ask her about that shit. I want to throw these heads under the table, but she's cool. I caught this bitch, by the way. She's from Jersey, right? She's from Brooklyn, man. So
Brooklyn.
Like, I don't care if you're living in Jersey for years. If you're born in Brooklyn, you're a New Yorker. I was telling him, like, you're not fucking from Jersey,
I can hear it in your voice.
We don't give Jersey anything. You can't have sports teams that's ours.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, do we have like a really cool? I mean, except for my boy Brian Meisler, who's also from Jersey. But I was like, hey, are we gonna have like a New Jerseyan on the show? That's pretty cool. It's like, girl, you're from Brooklyn. You're a New Yorker. Get out of here.
Just like how The Rock is Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No one talks about that.
Nobody talks about that.
That's a secret. Let's not talk about that.
I was thinking about this. I was like, for the hell of it, I forgot why I was looking up at Canadian actors or something like that, and I was like, God damn it! Literally, all of our heroes in the United States are all Canadian.
Damn.
All the people that are like, okay, you talk about The Rock, then you talk about Solid Snake. He's played by a Canadian. Fucking Jack Bauer, he's Canadian. His dad is Canadian.
Not Vin Diesel.
Not Vin Diesel.
Ryan Reynolds is Canadian.
Ryan Reynolds is Canadian.
Wow.
I
mean, I remember the first Canadian. I was like, oh shit, she's Canadian. It was Pamela Anderson.
Yeah. She's Canadian.
Yeah, she's Canadian.
What's up with that? She's all American, and she's always put up as the poster girl for all that. All American.
American girl.
No, bitch. You're Canadian. But let's wrap it up. And Adam, stick around because you literally dipped the show last time.
I did.
As soon as we said later, guys, you went bloop and then went.
Now we don't just stop the show. Just chill.
We usually have a little bit of a talk.
Oh, that's right. That's why you sent that message. I'm like, what is he talking about? Ow.
Like my all man, right. we're done, but we're not done.
Oh, okay. All right. There we go.
All right, okay. So thank you for watching and listening. Make sure to follow the Koalition at thekoalition.com. Also help support the site by donating to our Patreon page. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Throwdown Show. Links are available in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco and Chad, joined by Emilio Lopez.
I'll see you later, guys.
Spider-Man. Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Go watch the Dunkirk trailer. The new Christopher Nolan movie looks good.
Oh, shit. Brett Murdock.
See you, people. While I got the mic, for those of you that can, please go to Rachel's crowdfunding page, youcaring.com/cancerkicker, and share it on your Facebook page. I'm trying to get as much traction on this as possible so we can get her out to Colorado.
Yes, please, people, donate. The link is in the description. No excuse not to check it out. It's in there. And Mr. Adam Vale.
All right, thank you.
You work on those outros, man.
No outros. I got no real outros.
Oh, man. All right, people. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Deuces.
Later.
I mean the same.